Chapter 121, The 10,000-Year Mysterious Ice Cave. The three fierce beasts grow excited. Nanshui voice carried a trace of solemnity. The leaking of a sect secret was no small matter. Broadly speaking, it concerned the survival and prosperity of the entire Earth Dragon Gate. As the sect leader, it was only natural she felt worried and astonished. Shu Yan met her gaze and, without releasing his spirit, felt the depth of her strength. A spirit Douluo who didn't openly use her spirit yet gave off an impression stronger than Han Ruoro. This proved Nan Shui's power. Otherwise, how could the Earth Dragon Gate possibly contend with the Sky Dragon Gate while led by a single spirit Douluo? Though many factors were at play, it was undeniable that her Rouge Dragon lineage, rare among the lesser dragons, gave her an edge. After a moment's thought, Shu Yan spoke calmly. Sect leader Nan, there's no need to worry so much. I only learned of your sect's secret by chance. I can promise that, aside from me, no one else on the continent knows about it. Seeing his serious expression and earnest tone, Nan Shui restrained some of her alarm and allowed herself to believe him, though a faint worry still lingered. After a short pause, she decided to be candid. Friends, I'll tell you the truth, she said. My ancestors have explored the immortal cave beneath that cold pool for generations, and even now we haven't fully unraveled what's down there. The low temperature is something even a titled Douluo can't bear for long. It's so bitterly cold it likely surpasses the core of the extreme North Land. Those are the conclusions my ancestors left behind. After I became sect leader and reached Spirit Douluo, I went down to investigate myself. But I was forced out after only a moment by the cold. If I hadn't reacted in time, that ultimate ice below the spring might have killed me. A spirit Douluo is already the peak below a titled Douluo. This kind of cold is not something ordinary ice attributes can produce. There was a trace of lingering fear on her face. If she had hesitated back then, she might not be alive now. Shu Yan, however, gave a faint smile and casually raised his hand. Immediately, a layer of diamond-like ice crystals formed on him, and white cold qi spread out. Ling Luochen beside him shivered uncontrollably. Nan Shui, sitting across from them, felt her pupils tighten and instinctively released a faint surge of pink spirit power to ward off the chill. Sect leader Nan, Shu Yan said, I understand the immortal cave's importance to your sect. But as you said, even another 100 or 1,000 years might not be enough for the Earth Dragon Gate to unlock its mysteries. Why not make a deal? Let me try going down in exchange for benefits or resources that would favor the Earth Dragon Gate. As for the cold, I can say with confidence that in the domain of ice and snow, no one in the current era, or perhaps even in the future, will surpass me. He didn't need to elaborate. With the ultimate Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion and the ultimate Ice Snow Empress within him, the two ancestral ice powers were at his back. Short of the Ice God's rebirth, there might be no one who could surpass Shu Yan in the ice and snow domain. Unexpectedly, Nan Shui's reaction was composed. Her expression shifted rapidly, from astonishment to curiosity, then to a deeper surprise. Shu Yan watched those changes plainly in her eyes. Barely suppressing her amazement, she cleared her throat and asked slowly, If I remember correctly, your primary spirit should be Yazi. But the ability you just displayed is clearly ice attribute. Is that a spirit mutation? She didn't finish the question. By her expression, it was clear she already suspected the answer. A moment later, she said in a dazed voice, This is unbelievable. Yazi alone is already at the top of the beast spirit pyramid on the continent. But from the cold you released just now, your second spirit's ice attribute is extraordinarily strong. From that instant, I can say with certainty your ice spirit is the most powerful ice attribute spirit I've ever seen. It might even be a legendary ultimate spirit. Is that so? Shu Yan didn't deny it. He replied softly, There is a powerful race in the extreme Northland called the Ice Jade Scorpion. Their clan controls the ultimate ice. Dragon City is near the extreme Northland. Sect leader Nan must be familiar with them. Your second spirit is an Ice Jade Scorpion. Nan Shui's emotions flared. She slapped the table instinctively. Dragon City's people always whispered the legends of the three great kings of the extreme north, so as the leader of a large force, she certainly knew of them. Not exactly the ordinary Ice Jade Scorpion, Shu Yan corrected quietly. Ordinary ice jade scorpions wouldn't possess the kind of cold I displayed. My second spirit carries the royal blood of the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion clan, much stronger than a typical member. Nan Shui's mind raced. She couldn't imagine how terrifying a peerless genius with two super beasts would be when he matured. How high could such a person rise? Her thoughts tumbled, but her decision hardened. Even if Shu Yan hadn't revealed he had twin spirits, she would have been willing to let him attempt the cold spring. At worst, she'd pull him out when he couldn't stand it. It would take little effort and would end Shu Yan's lingering obsession. The Earth Dragon Gate did not want to make an enemy of a peerless talent. One befriends or suppresses such geniuses. Nan Shui, practical and clear-headed, chose to befriend him. Against her ancestors' cautious instincts, she made a choice. "Come," she said, "I'll take you both to the backyard. The cold spring is in the garden back there." As she led Shu Yan and Lingluo Chen toward the backyard, Nan Shui mentally reassured the ancestors of the Earth Dragon Gate that this was not weakness, but prudent adaptability. The Earth Dragon Gate's backyard was a vast garden. Though Dragon City never grew warm, flowers and plants bloomed in all seasons. Cool air and the faint scent of life filled the space, refreshing and calming. They hadn't walked far when Nan Shui stopped by a well. The wellhead was unremarkable. Small, like an irrigation well, surrounded by blue stone slabs. Yet Shu Yan felt something different beneath the ordinary exterior. His heart stirred. His Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion spirit pulsed, wanting to break free. If Shu Yan had not suppressed it, the cold chi accompanying that spirit would have frozen the nearby plants into ice statues in an instant. Within Shu Yan's sea of consciousness, the attention of Tianmeng, the Snow Empress, and the Ice Empress was drawn as well. Tianmeng perceived through mental force and shared his findings with the others. The Snow Empress frowned and asked directly, "Shu Yan, do you know what's down there?" Shu Yan divided a sliver of his mind and answered softly, "I do. Beneath the well is a 10,000-year mysterious ice cave. The immortal cave the Earth Dragon Gate found contains ice extreme divine crystals, which are born alongside the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow." At that, the three ice attribute vicious beasts went silent, stunned. A moment later, the Ice Empress's voice trembled with excitement. "Shu Yan, are you sure? There's really a 10,000-year mysterious ice cave down there?" Shu Yan confirmed it. Even the normally composed Snow Empress could not remain still. "That explains why I sensed such a subtle, alluring aura when you arrived at this human sect," she said. "I thought it might be my imagination, but it wasn't." Tianmeng's eyes widened. He could not hide his excitement. A 10,000-year mysterious ice cave is a top-tier treasure site for ice attribute beasts and spirit masters, no less important than the Lake of Life in the Stardew Great Forest. In the extreme Northland, Brother once found such a cave. After consuming the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow there, I finally grew into a million-year spirit beast. As Tianmeng finished, the Ice Empress snapped a pincer at him, half playfully, half resentful. "Good things always go to others. If I had found that cave, the beast god might not have been Tian." Tianmeng chuckled as he crawled back, trying to placate her. "It's fate. Bing bing. Don't dwell on the past." "But I never expected to find a second 10,000-year mysterious ice cave in the world," Tianmeng continued. "From what I felt when I reached the bottom of this cold spring, the cave is already in decline. In a few hundred years, this place may no longer sustain a 10,000-year mysterious ice cave. Everything could vanish then." "Heh, but that's in the future. We found it at the right time. The ice marrow down there is still intact, and there are even several ice extreme divine crystals. Heh heh, this time the brothers are really going to get rich." Tianmeng's sinister laughter filled their minds. Even the argumentative Ice Empress fell silent, because everything he said was true. A 10,000-year mysterious ice cave could create a genuine miracle. Chapter 122, Ice Crystal. Standing before the calm, cold spring, Nan Shui's expression was complicated, but she remained composed as she spoke. "This spring is rich in spiritual qi and helps nourish the body. Cultivating near it is a major boon to spirit masters, especially those of the ice attribute." She glanced at Shu Yan and Lingluo Chen as she said this. Shu Yan didn't answer. His mental sea was a chaotic mess, filled with exclamations, sighs, and screams. Finally, Snow Empress's voice cut through. Shu Yan, go down first. With your Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion Spirit protecting you, and with Binger and me here, no low temperature in the world can stop you. A low hum escaped Shu Yan as his consciousness steadied. He looked at Ling Luochen beside him and said softly, "The cold down there is terrifying. With your current cultivation, you can't survive it. The ice element here is concentrated. Cultivate here for now. I'll come up later." Ling Luochen nodded obediently. She knew she couldn't help him much. The best thing she could do was not become a burden. Shu Yan acknowledged Nan Shui Shui with a small laugh. "Sect leader Nan, then I'll go down first." Nan Shui Shui nodded and sighed softly before explaining how to open the Immortal Cave's gate. There was no turning back from this point. She might as well be straightforward and leave him with a favorable impression. The deal Shu Yan had mentioned was unimportant to her compared with what she wanted most, the preservation of the Earth Dragon Gate's legacy. The continent's situation was tense. As leader of her sect, Nan Shui Shui's intuition was sharp. Another war from the Sun Moon Empire was only a matter of time. The Western Tianhun Empire was flat, undefended plains, and their sole guiding device technology lagged far behind. She doubted the Tianhun Empire could fend off the Sun Moon invasion. When that happened, Dragon City, due to its unique location and strategic value, would surely become a prime target. Nan Shui Shui wasn't asking Shu Yan to defend Dragon City then, only to preserve the Earth Dragon Gate's legacy. In disaster, people are either selfless saviors or selfish survivors. As sect leader, she carried responsibility for her sect and thousands of lives. She had to be calm. "All right, go down. If anything happens, contact me with this dragon scale." She produced a pink dragon scale, and Shu Yan took it without objection, slipping it into his storage spirit tool. Once everything was ready, a fierce chill radiated from Shu Yan's body. The air itself seemed to slow under the cold. Frost crawled over the stone slabs, flowers, and leaves. Even Ling Luochen and Nan Shui Shui stiffened for a moment. Shu Yan then leapt into the well, and the chill eased slightly. The glassy surface trembled once and smoothed again. Nan Shui Shui looked at Ling Luochen and said gently, "If you don't plan to come with me, you can wait here. Call the passing maids if you need anything." Relief softened Ling Luochen's expression. She looked at Nan Shui Shui with a solemn voice. "Thank you," Senior Nan chuckled, waved, and then rose and disappeared among the lush plants. The spring water was frigid, dense with spiritual qi. Its temperature was below zero, yet it did not freeze. The deeper one descended, the sharper the cold became. In just a few breaths, an ordinary spirit master would need to burn a great deal of spirit power to resist. Beyond that, every deeper step became an immense trial. Shu Yan probed downward with his mental sea and reached about 30 meters. Before arriving in the garden, Nan Shui Shui had said the spring was around 30 meters deep, but that was only the visible depth. The true 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow lay beneath the spring's eye at the very bottom. Probing with mental force revealed a dark blue hue there, and a cold so severe it would make even the three great ice-vicious beasts bow their heads in awe. Shu Yan felt no pressure until around 27 meters. Silver light flowed through his ice crystal armor, the spatial force manifestation he was most proficient with. Formed by a fusion of ultimate ice and spatial force, the armor allowed him to ignore the surrounding cold and pressure. Following Nan Shui Shui's instructions, Shu Yan opened the immortal cave door. The instant it opened, an even more terrifying cold surged at him. He stepped forward and entered. There was no water beyond the entrance. A strange energy blocked the spring. The cave was small but densely lined with unknown ore, and the temperature inside was far lower than the core of the extreme north land. With the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion spirit attached to him, a burst of emerald light exploded from Shu Yan's body and illuminated the entire cavern. The cave was made entirely of crystals. Under the emerald radiance, they glowed a translucent jade blue, though in reality, they should have been a darker blue. The Scorpion spirit's light had shifted their appearance. The crystals were perfectly clear, and in that light, they took on an otherworldly beauty. Shu Yan felt as if he'd stepped into a fairyland. "So beautiful," Tianmeng murmured, astonished. The 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow cave I found back then didn't have so many ice extreme divine crystals with it, Tianmeng said after a moment. I sense several ice extreme divine crystals here that have already produced life essence. Enough with the idle talk. Ice Empress snapped, impatience in her voice. Yan, hurry up, dig up all those ice extreme divine crystals first, then find the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow. I've already sensed it. It's right under the spring's eye. Although ice extreme divine crystals were valuable, they weren't as useful to Shu Yan as the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow would be. Any ice spirit master or spirit beast would gain tremendous benefits from that marrow. Just as Shu Yan was about to begin, a soft voice echoed in his mental sea. Chapter 123, Mysterious 10,000-Year Ice Marrow, Part 1. The life spirit's voice remained as light and pure as ever. A single syllable could soothe an anxious, restless heart. Master, if you want, I can do it for you. Shu Yan paused, then let the ultimate ice spirit power in his hand dissipate. He wanted to see what other abilities the life spirit, born from the life attribute treasure life gold, possessed. With his consent, the lake of life that stored vast life energy within his mental sea began to churn. A gentle cyan blue light radiated from Shu Yan's body and quickly filled the immortal cave. Under that light, the countless ice extreme divine crystals embedded in the cave walls simultaneously began to glow a deep blue. Their shades varied, flickering in the dim cave as if responding to Shu Yan. One by one, the crystals detached from the walls and floated in midair. Some of these ice extreme divine crystals have already formed a nascent life aura, the life spirit said. Compared to their incomplete life, my life level is higher. With my higher origin level, I can influence them by modulating specific energy fluctuations. The same principle applies to certain metals and items. There was a faint note of seeking praise in the life spirit's tone. Understandable, Shu Yan thought. It lived in his mental sea and relied on him to interact with the outside world. With Tianmeng and Shiji also present in his mental sea, even a pure being like the life spirit could be led astray by their influences. The four vicious beasts watched the strange scene with surprise. Tianmeng peered up at the cyan blue bead that represented the life spirit's origin consciousness and marveled. Your ability is very practical, as expected of a life spirit evolved from a top-tier life treasure. It's a shame you can't cultivate. Otherwise, with your aptitude, you could be a snow empress of another level. No one denied it. The Douluo Continent prized bloodline origins above all. The life spirit's origin was life gold, a level surpassing ordinary ultimate spirits. If it could cultivate, it would tower above many powerful spirits. While they spoke, Shu Yan had already sealed the ice extreme divine crystals into his soul-guiding device. When everything was secured, the Snow Empress spoke. The true 10,000-year mysterious ice cave should be beneath that spring eye, she warned. The cold there is extreme. Be careful and don't be complacent. After double-checking that nothing was left behind, Shu Yan left the immortal cave. This 10,000-year mysterious ice cave itself was likely a product of the extreme north, pushed beneath Dragon City by tectonic shifts. Tianmeng had said the cave was decaying and would dissipate in a few hundred years, returning to its original state. There was no reason to leave any of the ice extreme crystals or the 10,000-year ice marrow to regenerate. Shu Yan and the others simply took everything they could. Back at the bone-chilling spring, a faint red glow flickered across Shu Yan's body as Ice Emperor's protection activated. He dove toward the spring eye. When he came within a meter of it, his mental sea, which had been flowing freely, suddenly felt like it had sunk into a quagmire and could not advance. Tianmeng and Sheiji noticed as well, surprise on their faces. Normally, elemental attributes cannot affect mental force, but this ice attribute had reached an extreme. The expansion of mental sea was greatly hindered. The surrounding ice subtly pressed against Shu Yan's consciousness. Shu Yan braced his hands against the well's sides and unleashed a terrifying burst of power. His body shot down like a cannonball, cutting through the ultimate low-temperature zone at the spring eye. The cold was truly terrifying. Even with his spirit power and spirit strength, he felt it. After breaking through that area, he continued to plunge, and Sheiji spoke from within his mental sea. The cold at this spring eye is horrifying. I roughly calculated that a human titled Douluo could survive only a few breaths here at most. Even a limit Douluo likely wouldn't dare explore deep into this spring. She hesitated, then added, "At my peak, I wouldn't have dared." Shiji's peak cultivation had been 500,000 years. As a soul-eating spider emperor origin race and a dual-system vicious beast with mental and evil traits, her combat strength surpassed most human limit Douluo. For her to say that emphasized how lethal the cold was. After another 70 meters, the temperature drove itself into Shu Yan's bones, and he had to exert everything to resist. Tianmeng, the Snow Empress, and the Ice Empress released parts of their origin power. Sky blue, deep blue, and emerald green energies swirled around him. Just as they neared 80 meters, Shu Yan suddenly felt lighter and then fell into an utterly black, immortal cave. No light, no water. Whoa! Shu Yan exhaled, feeling an extreme chill invade him through his breath. The ultimate ice automatically defended his body, battling the cold and then absorbing it. It's so cold. Even inside Aeon's mental sea, I feel my spiritual origin almost freezing. The ice attribute here is nearly solidified. Honestly, the temperature in this 10,000-year ice marrow cave is much lower than the one I encountered before. Tianmeng shivered, its rounded body wishing for a quilt. You useless thing, an ice attribute spirit beast afraid of the cold. The Ice Empress glanced at Tianmeng and scoffed. She and the Snow Empress were ice attribute vicious beasts at the peak. Though surprised by the ice and cold, they were more pleasantly astonished. Cultivating here could hugely accelerate any ice attribute spirit master or spirit beast's progress. Snow Empress's eyes burned with interest as she looked around. After a moment, she said, "This ice attribute is the ultimate among ultimate ice. I once heard an ancient rumor, true ultimate ice can even freeze time and space, much less ordinary souls. A spirit master's soul links to their mental sea, and the mental sea is just a manifestation of power. If the temperature is low enough, it can be completely frozen." Snow Empress carried the ice god bloodline. Her lineage was purer and more powerful than the Tai-Tan Snow Demon clan and other tribes with ice god bloodlines. That bloodline had been her foundation for breaking through countless heavenly tribulations to become a vicious beast over 600,000 years old. Her vision and understanding far exceeded others. Born long before humans, she spoke not of myths, but of possible, and in some cases actual, phenomena. Shiji didn't interrupt the three ice attribute vicious beasts' conversation. To be honest, if not for the life spirit's vast life energy counteracting some of the cold, she would have had to huddle close to it for warmth. The life spirit resembled a heaven and earth life spirit, naturally well adapted to extreme temperatures. Silver light bloomed and the space around Shu Yan distorted. Dense spatial elements replaced some of the surrounding ice elements. The temperature rose slightly and Shu Yan breathed easier. Only then could he properly take in the cramped immortal cave. Unlike the vast 10,000-year cave Tianmeng had found earlier, this one was small, and because so much 10,000-year ice marrow had accumulated inside, the cold could not dissipate. Over the years, the temperature here had approached absolute zero. That didn't mean Shu Yan couldn't survive. He simply needed time to adapt. Freezing to death here was almost impossible. News of an ultimate ice spirit owner frozen to death would be a laughingstock across the Douluo Continent. Inside the cramped cave stood many peculiar ice pillars, over a dozen, crisscrossing, large and small. Each pillar was pure white. Even under the silver light, they remained as white as jade, untainted and mesmerizing. If one looked closely, faint liquid could be seen flowing within the pillars. The terrifying cold emanated from them. "Good treasures, after hundreds of thousands of years, I've missed you," Tianmeng said with excitement and emotion. Of everyone present, it knew the 10,000-year ice marrow best. After all, it had feasted on the stuff many times. More than half of its essence came from it. Snow Empress and the Ice Empress showed similar excitement. Snow Empress composed herself, cleared her throat, and instructed Shu Yan. "All right, Shu Yan, listen to me. Start the fusion of these 10,000-year ice marrows. Of course, you can't integrate too much at once. I'll divide the rest equally and incorporate them into our origins. We are part of you. By doing so, the marrow's effect will be maximized and your body's burden reduced." Also, once we leave you, must prepare to condense your spirit core. The energy stored in your body is too great. This is a mixed blessing. I won't go into details, but you know what that means. Shu Yan hummed softly in acknowledgement. The Snow Empress's arrangement was indeed the most sensible. As the purest heaven and earth treasure of the ice element, the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow contained enormous energy, but also demanded much of whoever absorbed it. The Snow Empress and the others had already signed soul contracts with Shu Yan, and by various means had integrated their origins with his, so they were in a way part of him. Distributing the excess energy among them would help stabilize their origins and, when needed, their steadier origins and vast reserves could better support Shu Yan. This would be especially important when he condensed his second and third soul cores. For modern spirit masters, condensing a soul core hinges not just on physical quality and mental strength, but also on a stable, abundant energy supply. It would be nearly impossible to sustain the entire condensation process on one's own stored spirit power. Shu Yan's own condition already met the requirements for the first soul core. Even without the Snow Empress saying so, he knew it himself. He should really condense his first soul core soon. Back to the marrow. As the Snow Empress had said, although the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow was a true treasure for ice attribute spirit beasts and spirit masters, Shu Yan couldn't take too much directly. There was a significant side effect. Absorbing too much at once easily plunged the absorber into a long, deep slumber. Tianmeng was keenly aware of this and had warned him, if Shu Yan absorbed too much, he might sleep for 8 or 10 years. Though he would emerge massively stronger, such a long cultivation sleep wasn't necessarily desirable. For Shu Yan, active cultivation over several years might be more beneficial than a forced sleep. Tianmeng trusted him on this point. Shu Yan counted. As in the original record, there were 45 pieces of 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow in the cave. When distribution began, the Ice Empress first absorbed 9. The Snow Empress took 15 in one go. She could have taken more, but she felt what she had was enough and stopped. Shiji, though not ice attribute, greedily absorbed 3 because she coveted the dense heaven and earth spiritual qi inside them. Tianmeng, by contrast, absorbed very slowly. Even after a long time, he hadn't finished half a piece. Shu Yan himself absorbed 5 pieces, the limit for him right now. He already felt his meridians expanding, his spirit power roiling, and even his Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion spirit was excited, signs that a breakthrough was imminent. Shu Yan suppressed the surge by mobilizing his spirit power and decided to postpone the breakthrough. Although this place was perfect for it, he had the strong premonition that this breakthrough would lead directly into soul core condensation, which would be disruptive. Ling Luochen was waiting for him about 100 meters above in the Earth Dragon Gate, and it would be difficult to control the commotion of soul core condensation. So he chose to wait. After everyone had taken their portions, 12 pieces of the mysterious ice marrow remained sealed in the cave by the Snow Empress for later use. Once everything was arranged, the Snow Empress spoke up. "If I'm not mistaken," she said, "the spirit of that little girl who was with you earlier is pure ice. You seem to be considering helping her evolve her spirit into ultimate ice." Shu Yan paused mid-step and replied, "Yes, I plan to. Do you have a suggestion, Snow Empress?" Originally, he had intended to use the octagonal mysterious ice grass from the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well, after they raided it, to help Ling Luochen reach ultimate ice. But he welcomed the Snow Empress's thoughts. The Snow Empress considered for a moment. "Binger's and my origins are completely consolidated, and after absorbing so much mysterious ice marrow, the energies are sealed inside our origins, but they still essentially exist within your body. If you're willing, I can condense and separate the portion of our origins that could not be fully sealed. Though the amount is small compared to our total origins, for a human at the Spirit King level, even a sliver of origin force can provoke a qualitative change in her spirit. If you give her half a piece of the mysterious ice marrow, her spirit will almost certainly evolve into ultimate ice." The Snow Empress wasn't being sentimental. There was logic to her offer. Her and the Ice Empress's origins were vast and complete, and because both shared the ultimate ice attribute, they had integrated their origins. Combining the two origins helped suppress their terrifying power, but in the fusion process, some origin force inevitably leaked out. It would take time for Shu Yan to absorb that stray force completely, and since he planned to condense a soul core soon, he needed his body kept at peak stability. Those wandering powers were uncertain factors. The Snow Empress thought it best to put them to use by giving them to Ling Luochen. Shu Yan considered, then smiled. "Are you okay with me giving away the ice marrow?" The Snow Empress smiled faintly. "The mysterious ice marrow is your opportunity. We've all benefited from it. How you arrange the rest is your business. As long as it's in your interest and not excessive, we won't object." The Ice Empress and Tianmeng nodded in agreement. They understood Shu Yan's position. Shiji, as usual, had no real say. "All right, let's do as you suggested, Snow Empress," Shu Yan said. "First, separate that portion of the origin force. That will clear any hidden danger before I condense my first soul core." "Then go find a safe place above," the Snow Empress replied. "Binger and I will begin the separation immediately." Shu Yan nodded. After spending time with him, the Snow Empress's impression of Shu Yan had improved. Putting aside whatever he might be like otherwise, he wasn't heartless. He treated allies and friends well. With a reliable partner like him, her own hopes of ascending and attaining immortality seemed much more attainable. Chapter 125, Compensation and Nanshui Shui's Request. The calm surface of the spring shattered as Shu Yan burst out of the water, wrapped in an almost tangible chill. Ling Luochen, who had been meditating and cultivating by the well, was startled awake. She rose quickly, but before she could close the distance, the cold radiating from Shu Yan froze her fingertips. "Wait, this extreme cold isn't something you can handle yet," Shu Yan warned, stepping back as his aura flickered. Slowly, the cold qi diffused and the temperature returned to normal. Only then did Ling Luochen, still keeping a respectful 3 meters between them, step forward. "Everything good?" she asked. Shu Yan nodded. "Very good. The temperature down there was shocking, but it wasn't a threat to me. It just took time to gather the trove. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken most of the day." Ling Luochen quietly exhaled in relief. She felt oddly unsteady when Shu Yan was absent. Independent by nature, she still preferred the security of having someone to lean on. After a few quiet exchanges, they retraced their steps. On the way, they met Yue Lanji, who led them to an antique-style hall where Nan Shui Shui waited, elegant in a fitted long dress. A pretty young girl sat beside her, Nan Chuchu, the Earth Dragon Gate's prodigy and a known dragon second generation in Dragon City. Nan Shui Shui's face showed surprise at the two students. "I thought you'd be down there for 2 or 3 days, but you came back in less than 1. How did it go? Any gains?" She was both astonished and unsurprised that Shu Yan had been able to stay in the cold spring so long. As an ultimate ice spirit user, the spring's low temperature posed little to him. While she spoke, Nan Chuchu had been quietly observing them. She'd originally been annoyed at strangers coming to their secret realm, and she had begged her mother to tell her everything. Once she found out they'd come for the realm, Nan Chuchu wanted to march over and scold Ling Luochen, but her mother persuaded her otherwise. Offending 2 renowned geniuses would bring no benefit to the Earth Dragon Gate. So she swallowed her pride, yet still wanted to see the famous Shu Yan for herself. The girl's initial hostility quickly melted into admiration when she saw him. It didn't take long for her feelings to shift from annoyance to awe, and even a faint, complicated flutter. Shu Yan smiled at Nan Shui Shui's question. "It didn't take long. I already recovered the item. I owe Doormaster Nan my thanks." A shadow of melancholy crossed Nan Shui Shui's face, yet she laughed softly. "I'm curious what treasures the secret realm hides. Our Earth Dragon Gate has guarded it for thousands of years and still hasn't figured it out." Shu Yan's smile turned wry. "You needn't worry. Even if the Earth Dragon Gate had developed the trove, its value would be limited. There are 2 kinds of treasures down there, a special ice-attributed rare metal, an extreme ice divine crystal, and an extremely rare 10,000-year ice marrow. Both can only be utilized by ultimate ice spirit masters. For ordinary people, they're almost useless and can be lethal. The extreme cold qi they emit can freeze the unprepared to death." He paused, then added gravely, As the saying goes, an innocent man can be ruined because of his treasure. The Earth Dragon Gate alone cannot safely guard these two items. Nan Shui Shuai's expression turned grave. She nodded slowly, forcing a bitter smile. You're right. If even the Earth Dragon itself can't obtain them, it's more danger than opportunity for us. Shu Yan smiled and produced a red light in his hand. A spirit bone appeared. Nan Shui Shuai's face froze. Shu Yan set it on the table and said, Doormaster Nan, I won't take such valuable items without offering something in return. This torso spirit bone came from an evil soul master spirit Douluo I killed. Its value doesn't match those two treasures, but it's far more practical for the Earth Dragon Gate. He continued, I'll also make a promise. When the Sun Moon Empire wages war in the future, I'll ensure the safety of the Earth Dragon Gate and help raise its rank. Nan Shui Shui's breath caught when she saw the torso bone. Even Nan Chuchu, who had been silent under her mother's restraining glance, stared. They had seen many spirit bones, but this blood-eyed demonic ape torso bone, an exceptional, top-grade relic, was their first. Shu Yan explained, this spirit bone is from a blood-eyed demonic ape, roughly 60,000 years old. The annihilation attribute of the Rouge Dragon spirit is special, but its physical enhancement is lacking compared to other sub-dragon spirits of the same rank. This spirit bone can fill that gap. He looked at her seriously. If Doormaster Nan chooses to cultivate with it, within 10 years a Rouge Douluo will certainly appear on the continent. If you give it to Miss Nan, her potential will leap ahead. How you use it is up to your sect. The bone thudded onto the table, radiating a raw, killing intent that made both mother and daughter uneasy. Nan Chuchu, only a spirit elder in cultivation, stiffened and instinctively stepped back, then flushed at herself. Nan Shui Shui and she were both momentarily speechless. By their accounts, Shu Yan was still in his teens. For someone so young to have slain an evil soul master spirit Douluo, masters who were notoriously hard to cultivate to the late stage and astonishingly powerful, was astounding. Nan Shui Shui privately admitted that in a fair fight against such an evil spirit Douluo, she would not have had better than a 50% chance of winning, and that was without accounting for the evil soul master's underhanded methods. The spirit bone before her was indisputably top grade, but more than the bone itself, Nan Shui Shui valued Shu Yan's promise. After weighing everything, she looked up at Shu Yan and said softly, I have a small request. I wonder if young friend Shu Yan would agree. Shu Yan raised an eyebrow and smiled. Master Nan, just say it. Within reason, everything is negotiable. Nan Shui Shui's smile grew warm. She glanced at Nan Chu and said, I plan to send Chu Chu to study at Shrek Academy for a while. If you have time, I hope you can look after her. Nan Chu Chu blinked, shocked. She had no idea her mother had such a plan. Shu Yan was surprised too. In the original expectations, Nan Chu Chu would remain in the sect to cultivate and later lead the Earth Dragon Gate team at the next Great Soul Battle Tournament. Yet Nan Shui Shui was now sending her to Shrek Academy. The intention behind this was hard to read. After a moment, Shu Yan replied, If Doormaster Nan truly wishes it, I won't refuse such a small thing. I do have other matters to attend to and won't be returning to Shrek Academy right away. If Miss Nan agrees, Luo Chen can take her to Shrek City first. Good. It's settled, Nan Shui Shui said without hesitation, cutting off any protest from her daughter. I'll handle Chu Chu's enrollment. I've spoiled her since she was little. Her temperament is proud. She thinks she can do everything. Shrek Academy will temper her. Young friend Shu Yan, if she causes trouble there, please discipline her for me. Don't worry, she's tough. She won't be killed. Nan Chu Chu flushed under her mother's stern gaze. Mom, I'm your biological daughter. How can you say that? Chapter 126, Nan Chu Chu's New World, was forcibly opened. Nan Shui Shui regarded the flushed Nan Chu Chu with surprising calm. She cast a cool glance at her daughter, then sneered, Do you even know how ridiculous you look? Get out of my sight. Don't make me smack you. Mom, you, Nan Chu Chu stammered, trembling under her mother's gaze. After a long, awkward silence, she slunk back to her seat, a mixture of helplessness and grievance about her that made her look like a chastened child. Shu Yan and Ling Luochen exchanged glances, both with faint smiles. Nan Chu Chu hadn't made too big a scene with Nan Shui Shui present, but her spoiled, willful air still showed through. At 12 or 13, she really was just an immature young miss with discipline problems. Their first impressions were sympathetic. With some proper guidance, she'd turn out fine. Nan Shuishui's expression softened as she turned to their guests. It's getting late. Don't go. Stay as guests at the Earth Dragon Gate tonight. Chu, show our guests around. I have a few matters to take care of. Her tone left no room for argument. Nan Chuchu pouted, clearly unwilling, but her mother's authority won out, and she muttered an agreement. Accompanied by the girl's grudging compliance, the three of them wandered the long, yet elegant corridors of the Earth Dragon Gate estate. The mansion's designer had real talent. Every building was ornamental and tasteful, and the backyard garden in particular stole Shu Yan's breath. He hadn't studied it closely before, but now he couldn't help admiring it. It was, without question, one of the most beautiful gardens he'd ever seen. When they passed the training grounds, Nan Chuchu found the courage to challenge Shu Yan to an evenly matched, friendly spar. Shu Yan feigned doubt about her strength. The little girl's indignation reached the edge of tears before he relented and let Ling Luochen step forward to give a demonstration. 15 seconds later, Nan Chuchu stood frozen like a statue. Literal ice clung to her body, and she shivered and sneezed where she stood as Shu Yan casually brushed the frost from her. Ling Luochen approached with her usual silent, graceful steps. There was a hint of surprise in her eyes. Earlier, Nan Chuchu's Annihilation Light had been impressive. It had resisted spirit power attacks from over 20 levels above and neutralized 2 waves of assault. Still, her spirit power wasn't high enough to match Ling Luochen. Against Ling Luochen's skill, what Nan Chuchu had done was the very limit of her strength. The Rouge Dragon's annihilation is deserving of its name, Ling Luochen said frankly. If your spirit power were on par with mine, defeating you would be very difficult. Annihilation power could suppress all elemental abilities, but its suppressive effect depended on the caster's spirit power. For a spirit elder level Nan Chuchu to negate Ling Luochen's attacks, she'd have to expend twice the spirit power she normally would. Still, even after being overwhelmed, Nan Chuchu had insisted on testing Shu Yan because she wanted to measure his strength for herself. Shu Yan, unable to refuse the little girl, finally indulged her curiosity. A majestic presence descended like a falling star. Nan Chuchu trembled as pale dragon scales began to adhere to her skin one by one, and a soft, startled dragon-like roar escaped her lips. She sank to her knees, eyes wide as she looked up at Shu Yan. "Do you still want to try now?" Shu Yan asked, helping her to her feet with a faint smile and a touch of spatial power. "No, no more," Nan Chuchu said, looking at him as if he were a monster. Any lingering resentment evaporated, only awe remained. Shu Yan didn't add anything further and simply smiled. After a peaceful night at the Earth Dragon Gate, Nan Shui unceremoniously packed Nan Chuchu up and kicked her out the main gate. The girl didn't even have her luggage sorted. Before she left, Nan Shui declared that if Nan Chuchu didn't correct her bad habits within half a year, she wouldn't be welcome back at the Earth Dragon Gate. If she did return, she'd be allowed to sleep only by the door. Nan Chuchu almost burst into tears. Yet she couldn't help remembering what her mother had said the night before. The same mother who'd earlier nudged her to get along with Shu Yan and even subtly urged her to be brave in love. According to Nan Shui, since Chuchu already had a favorable impression of Shu Yan, she might as well try to win him over. Shu Yan was passionate by nature, and if Chuchu succeeded, it could be a huge advantage for their sect. Nan Chuchu pretended she didn't want to hear it. She'd rather starve or jump off the back mountain of the Earth Dragon Gate than become Shu Yan's concubine. She, Nan Chuchu, had dignity. She vowed this in a flurry of adolescent indignation. Traveling with the little burden slowed the trio's progress compared to Shu Yan and Ling Luochen traveling alone. Ling Luochen still had a few days free, so Shu Yan accompanied her to Heaven Do City, where the Ling family's current residence was located. Because Ling Luochen's relations with her family were strained, she didn't take Shu Yan to visit them. The time the two spent together was full of warmth and tenderness, and their bond deepened, which, unfortunately for Nan Chuchu, became a daily cruelty. Watching Shu Yan and Ling Luochen display intimacy all day was a severe blow to the young, inexperienced Nan Chuchu. At the Earth Dragon Gate, she'd been the commanding young miss, but in the face of Shu Yan and Ling Luochen, she felt helplessly small. The change in status and environment unsettled her at first, but she adjusted. With the end of their brief time together approaching and the looming return to Shrek Academy and to Hanruoro, Ling Luochen's emotions grew tense and restless. To soothe herself, she monopolized Shu Yan's time and attention, barely leaving the room for 2 days. At one point, she even sent Nanchuchu out to buy outfits that would make a modest young miss blush. Nanchuchu's horror at those clothes was profound. It cracked open for her a whole new world of contrast. The cold, proud Ling Luochen showed an astonishingly affectionate side in front of Shu Yan. After enduring those few fraught days, the mission's deadline finally arrived, and Ling Luochen had to return to Shrek City. Nanchuchu was so excited she almost cried. Those few days had felt like years to her, and now that dawn had broken on the separation, she could hardly contain herself. After a farewell kiss with Ling Luochen, Shu Yan watched as Ling took Nanchuchu away, then stretched and prepared to carry on with the arrangements he'd planned. Chapter 127, Sunset Forest, Yin-Yang Eyes of Ice and Fire. After sending Ling Luochen and Nanchuchu away, Shu Yan left Heavendo City. He flew northeast from the city toward an ancient, decaying spirit beast forest, the Sunset Forest, home to the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well. 10,000 years had taken their toll. The Sunset Forest, once teeming with 10,000-year spirit beasts and spreading across vast territory, had long since diminished. It was now about a third smaller than it had been, and both the number and quality of spirit beasts had fallen dramatically. 1,000-year spirit beasts were already rare. It did not take Shu Yan long to reach the forest's outskirts. From a distance, it looked green and alive. Though the spirit beasts were fewer, the vegetation still held together. If the decline continued, however, this place would one day vanish or simply turn into an ordinary wood. Confident in his own strength, Shu Yan flew straight into the forest's depths. Using his powerful mental reconnaissance, he quickly locked onto the right direction and accelerated. After about an hour, he arrived at the forest's true core. Unlike the Stardew Great Forest, chaotic and towering with ancient trees and roaming beasts, the heart of the Sunset Forest felt calm, but a faint mist drifted through it. Shu Yan probed with his mental force and noticed the mist thinning behind him while growing thicker ahead. Further in, it took on the look of a cloud settled inside the trees, obscuring vegetation, and its colors were not just white, there were many hues intermingled. "These are miasma," Tianmeng said in his lazy, familiar tone. "Toxic gases formed by the unmanaged corpses of plants and animals, twisted over time by wind and sun. For Ayan, they're nothing. Brother can sense it already. The deeper you go in this direction, the more terrifying the poison becomes. What a pity for others. You have spatial protection and ultimate attributes. Poisons that could threaten you in this world are nearly non-existent." Shu Yan was wrapped in a faint silver light as he streaked forward like a meteor. The wind he cut through scattered some of the accumulated miasma. As Tianmeng had warned, the farther he went, the worse the miasma became. In the deepest part, a multicolored poisonous fog pooled, so corrosive it could eat through some metals. This poison could easily take down spirit masters below the spirit saint level, and beyond that lay an even stranger, denser green expanse. Leaves shaped like human hands, 7 or 9 fingers, and large emerald flowers. I didn't expect such a big patch of Jade Phosphorus 7 Absolutes flowers, even Jade Phosphorus 9 Absolutes flowers that have become plant-type spirit beasts. It's a grand design. With a poison formation this scale, no wonder the miasma is overwhelming, Shiji said, surprised. She had come from the Stardew Great Forest and once seen a Jade Phosphorus 9 Absolutes flower evolved into a plant-type spirit beast. Even at only 10,000 years cultivation, when it unleashed its corrosive venom, powerful spirit beasts with 50 or 60,000 years of cultivation would briefly retreat, fearing contamination. Hiss! So all those 9-fingered leaves are plant-type spirit beasts with at least 10,000 years of cultivation? Tianmeng asked in astonishment. Isn't it obvious? Sense it with your mental force and you'll know, Shiji replied with a glance at Tianmeng. Heh, brother's just used to it, Tianmeng said awkwardly, then added, puzzled. But brother, these jade phosphorus patches seem too neatly arranged, as if someone planted them to block the canyon behind. You guessed right, Shu Yan answered casually. Those flowers were arranged by the sea god. There's a treasure land called the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well in that canyon. It originally belonged to the Douluo family of the jade phosphorus serpent, but was later seized by the sea god. When we came through, we found corpses in the colorful miasma entwined with poison similar to these flowers' venom. Those must be the Douluo family's ancestors. So the sea god seized someone else's treasure? Bingdi said coldly. Shu Yan had no ready reply. A few days ago, he himself had forcibly taken the Earth Dragon Gate's treasure land, though in the end it had been resolved between the parties. As Bingdi's chief flatterer, Tianmeng chimed in at once. Yes, Binger, you're right. That sea god's a piece of work. He's not as honorable as our Ayan. At least Ayan didn't take things without cause. After a pause, Tianmeng smirked. Well, Ayan did take their daughter with him before leaving. I think that little girl really likes Ayan. He's worthy of her. Brother's charm with women is on point. Shiji snorted from the side. All you ever do is eat, sleep, and brag. Where do you get this charm talk? You're dreaming. No. Tianmeng interrupted and protested zealously. Brother doesn't need much charm. Meeting Bingbing was enough. Tianmeng dropped to his knees and came to Bingdi's feet, rubbing her scorpion tail with his round body while gushing. Bingbing, you're brother's one and only. Brother would smash through walls for you. Get lost. Bingdi snapped. The threat made Tianmeng shiver. With a flick of her slender, exquisite scorpion tail, she sent him flying 1,000 meters. The sound of his impact echoed through the mental space. Shiji doubled over, laughing so hard she nearly couldn't breathe. Even Snow Empress couldn't help the small smile that curved the corner of her lips. With Tianmeng around, the Sea of Consciousness was a far more entertaining place. Shu Yan watched the scene through his mental force and smiled helplessly. There are at least 4 10,000-year plant-type spirit beasts in the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang. Well, he said. Confirmed 10,000-year specimens are the mystic golden silk hibiscus, the octagonal mysterious ice grass, the fire apricot, and the affable queen Chiluo immortal. The octagonal mysterious ice grass and the fire apricot are likely the strongest in combat. Both are ultimate attribute spirit beasts. The other 2 10,000-year plants are much weaker and can be ignored in direct combat. Such a small place with 4 10,000-year plant-type spirit beasts. Looks like we're going to come up rich again. Tianmeng, recovering from his toss, shot back like a white gold streak and hovered beside them, eyes bright. Snow Empress considered for a moment and said, 4 10,000-year spirit beasts. My origin is unusually stable right now. Between the pure heaven and earth origin power, the energy from the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow, and help from Tianmeng and Sheiji, I should be able to condense an energy body for combat. Unless 2 limit Douluo appear at once, no one will touch you. Her eyes flashed cold. If anyone dares try, I will kill them. The spirit contract sealed by the Seed of Spirit had been relatively equal, but it directly linked their souls to Shu Yan's Sea of Consciousness. There was no turning back. If Shu Yan fell, they all would follow. Under those terms, Snow Empress swore to unconditionally protect him. To her, aside from Shu Yan, a special partner, other humans were ants. If they died, she felt no pity. The 10,000-year spirit beasts of the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Wang well mattered even less. As Empress of the Extreme North, she guarded only the spirit beasts of her own land. Bing Di felt similarly. Shiji was more straightforward. Everything, beasts or humans, was just nourishment. With Snow Empress's bold declaration, Shu Yan's last hesitation vanished. Wrapped in shimmering silver light, he pushed through the emerald poison mist. Poisonous clouds sank and swirled, becoming so dense they interfered with mental force. Shu Yan dove deeper, his ultimate ice and spatial power protecting him from the toxins. Midway, he drew a spatial blade. The silver light sliced through the sky and the choking clouds. With a dull thud, a vine-like 10,000-year spirit beast was cut down, and Shu Yan finally pierced the last of the miasma, stepping into a whole new world. Chapter 125. Soft and Sweet. Shu Yan, after passing through the dense poisonous clouds, the scene that opened before Shu Yan and the others was beyond description. The sky was completely veiled in kaleidoscopic poisonous mist, so dazzling it made the whole valley look as if it were lit by a rainbow. Colors merged and refracted in perfect harmony, producing an almost surreal visual effect. On the far cliff face, the colorful vines that had once attacked Shu Yan now nearly covered the entire rock, turning it into a face of gem-like, scintillating hues that could be seen from a great distance. The valley itself wasn't large, but it was crammed with plants of every kind. Countless varieties and colors stretched as far as the eye could see. A shimmering treasure light hovered in midair, forming a faint halo. Even without using spirit sense, one could tell these plants were extraordinary. Most striking of all, at the center of the valley was a lake divided cleanly into two halves. One side was icy white, exhaling a pale mist, an extreme cold, no weaker than ultimate ice. The other side blazed red, the heat warping the air above it. Its waters contained a terrifyingly potent fire attribute. If not for the counterbalance of the icy yin spring, the yang spring's heat would have been enough to scorch the whole valley. This place was the perfect embodiment of yin and yang balance. What a place, Tianmeng murmured in awe. No wonder it's called one of the three great treasure basins of the human realm. Any plant from here would be a prize many powerful folks would fight over. But the environment is far from ordinary. Elemental qi here is so dense, it's almost solid. It's not something ordinary people can absorb. An ordinary spirit master would drop dead within moments if directly exposed to this, he added with a click of his tongue, then warned Shu Yan to be careful with his defenses. The place was too unusual. Even given Shu Yan's strong physique, prolonged exposure could be dangerous. All right, Shu Yan, look at that large pink flower, Sheiji said. I just sensed a faint mental fluctuation from it. It was awakened by you. Unlike Tianmeng, who was admiring the environment, Sheiji had been focused on several 100,000-year spirit beasts nearby. She immediately noticed the affable queen's awakening. Shu Yan answered her, landed gently, and walked toward the flower at the confluence of the two springs. As the bane of many poisons, the affable queen, Qiluo Immortal, kept its main body free of any other plants within about 30 meters. It occupied the exact center of the ice and fire yin-yang well, its bare surroundings only drawing more attention. As Shu Yan approached, a subtle, delicate fragrance drifted to his nose. It was light and pure. The moment it entered him, it fused with his body, clearing his mind and washing over him with a cleansing comfort. At once, the large pink blossom brightened and cast a pink light barrier that wrapped the 30-meter area. Shu Yan felt nothing amiss. He smiled lightly, and his right hand shifted into a scorpion-like claw that radiated an intense cold, nearly touching absolute zero. In an instant, the claw froze cracks into the pink barrier. The affable queen's main body recoiled. A shower of gem-like petals vanished, leaving only a small purple pistil at the center as it cried out in alarm. Stop! 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 Human! Don't be so rough. You nearly froze my beautiful body solid. Shu Yan withdrew the extreme cold and chuckled. You're a plant-type spirit beast, at least 100,000 years old, aren't you? How can you be so fragile? Isn't that a little weak? I'm not a 100,000-year spirit beast, the flower protested. If you count accurately, I'm only a little over 10,000 years old. My abilities just reached that level. And the cold in your hand is truly frightening, almost on par with the ice eye. I'm the worst at fighting. If you'd struck me, I'd probably have turned into an ice statue right away. The affable queen's petals fluttered, the panic draining from its voice and giving way to gentleness. Though it remained mostly a plant, Shu Yan could feel its gaze on him, curious and oddly fervent. The curiosity made sense. It had likely not seen a human in millennia. The fervor, however, puzzled him. Honestly, it's been an awfully long time since I saw a human, the flower said. You can call me Yu. Stay and talk with me. You've no idea how bored I am. If you please me, I'll reward you. The massive blossom tilted as if to study him more closely. Shu Yan half smiled. What if I plan to take those rewards by force? Yu's tone faltered for a moment, then it spoke in a warning whisper. Keep your voice down. It's fortunate you met me. If it had been Ah Jiao or the others and you said that, whether you'd still be standing would be another matter. I'm only warning you because you're special, Yu added after a pause. If you were an ordinary human, Not even begging would earn you my mercy. Special? How? Shu Yan seized on that word and asked, intrigued. Yu Yu's great petals trembled. It turned slowly, as if checking that no other immortal herbs had awakened. Satisfied, it straightened and spoke with grave seriousness, then almost blurted out its true feeling. Because you're so soft and sweet, I want to cling to you. No, that's not quite it. It's because you carry a life aura that drives all plant-type spirit beasts wild. That life aura is far too pure. If they could follow you, keep you by their side, I think it would be a tremendous boon to their cultivation. It had nearly said too much, then tried to correct itself, but Shu Yan already understood the gist. Before he could fully ponder what that meant, the ethereal voice of the life spirit resonated inside his sea of consciousness. Chapter 129. The Weakened Son of Nature, the Bandit Snow Empress, and the Soul. Master, I think I can answer that for you. Life Spirit's voice was as clear and pleasant as ever, like spring water that washed the heart nature clean. After you fused with my origin, the Life Spirit's golden origin, your physique has taken on some traits unique to this origin. You now carry the pure, original life aura and the immense, unfathomable life energy that belong to the Life Spirit's gold. If I had to compare, you're somewhat like the Tianmeng iceworm, the beast once trapped in the Stardow Great Forest and exploited by many vicious beasts. But for plant-type spirit beasts, you, having completely fused with the Life Spirit's gold, are even more alluring than the iceworm itself, especially to powerful plant-type spirit beasts and even heavenly spirit objects. Shu Yan blinked in surprise, then smiled. So, does that mean I'm a weakened son of nature? In a manner of speaking, yes, Life Spirit admitted. But compared to a true son of nature, what you have is still far from complete. Ice Empress nodded in agreement. Let's not get hung up on whether you're a true son of nature. After being transformed by the Life Spirit's gold, a Yan's physique is certainly special and extremely attractive to spirit beasts. That uniqueness is why we can keep our consciousness after fusing with him without needing long periods of deep sleep to repair our divine sense. Beyond that, this Empress can't say for sure, but from what I've seen, it is indeed extraordinary. Snow Empress added softly, Binger is right, and as far as I know, sons of nature have only ever appeared in plants or animals. I've never heard of one appearing in a human. Shu Yan considered this for a moment, then turned to Yo Yu. I see. I'll be careful, otherwise I might end up staying here forever. Yu Yu chuckled, but its tone quickly grew serious and slightly probing. Exactly. That human, tell me, how did you find the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well? Who told you its location? Don't tell me it was a coincidence. A genius human like you wouldn't just wander into a poisoned formation for no reason. Shu Yan smirked. I came for treasure, and as for how I knew where the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well is, Tang San told me. Tang San! Yu Yu exclaimed then, after a moment's excitement, its voice shifted to something like resentment. He hasn't come to visit for a very, very long time. Is he all right? After nearly 10,000 years, we still miss him. Shu Yan's smile remained faint. He was, of course, not talking about the Tang San that had been Yu Yu's companion, but in many ways it didn't matter. Yu Yu, reverent and loyal, could not hide its attachment. Heh? Yu Yu sniffed. I'll tell you this. Taking treasure from the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well requires a test. First, you must prove the goodness of your heart nature. Second, you must pass a trial. Only then may you take any of the 7 immortal herbs. That was the rule he left. Do you understand? Shu Yan chuckled. The Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well has always been one of the 3 great treasure basins of the human world. It belongs to the world, not to any single person. I'm not inclined to follow his rules. I prefer to measure things by strength rather than by tests. Yu Yu went silent for a long moment, then said finally, gravely, You should know that, although your strength is considerable, it is still insignificant compared to us. That person once said that if we meet someone unwilling to take the test or intent on seizing the treasure by force, we can deal with them. If you go out and expose this place, even with our self-preservation, we might not resist human numbers. Our home could be destroyed because of it. Of course, if you truly have the means to forcibly seize the treasure or leave, then I won't stop you. I'll only feel regret. I do like you. You'd better not disrespect him again. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have this place. To us, he is the one who recreated our home. Shu Yan grew bored with the praise. These beings worshipped Tongsan to the point of obsession. He had to think their brains had been soaked in the well's spring water. 2 blood-red spirit rings rose slowly, one bearing the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion spirit, the other a second-ranked blood-colored ring with 7 golden patterns blazing. Snow Empress's unrivaled majesty unfurled, and in an instant it awakened all the 100,000-year spirit beasts in the well. Yu, what's going on? Where did this human come from? His aura. A clear, agitated voice came from the hot spring. The speaker was the 100,000-year fire apricot. It's the aura of ultimate ice and ultimate snow, so powerful. Nothing I possess compares. From the opposite side came a cold voice. The speaker looked like a large white flower, octagonal in shape, tiny ice crystal stamens glittering at its center. It gave off no fragrance. It was the 100,000-year octagonal mysterious ice grass, a spirit beast of ultimate ice. Pure energy condensed in the air above Shu Yan, and a hazy figure emerged from his glabella, entering that body. Snow and ice swept across the treasured land for the first time, carrying an oppressive majesty. Amid that chill, a nearly flawless white-haired figure stepped out. Her cold, arrogant eyes swept over the gathered 100,000-year spirit beasts. This empress gives you 2 choices: hand over all treasures obediently, or die. Now, decide. Yu, nearest to Shu Yan, trembled. It gazed at him with confusion, then stammered, Who are you? You know if you kill us, you'll bring on heavenly tribulation. Heavenly tribulation? Snow Empress scoffed. What heavenly tribulation? I've already experienced 6 heavenly tribulations. If it weren't for genuinely being unable to resist the 7th, how could I have left the extreme Northland and set foot on human territory? Even if I can't display peak strength, dealing with you is a single palm strike. Yu was stunned. Then, recognition dawned. You are the Snow Empress of the extreme Northland. How could you become a human spirit? And you carry the auras of 2 other vicious beasts. Snow Empress landed beside Shu Yan and glanced coldly at Yu. That is none of your concern. Know only this. If you hand over the treasures, I will spare you. If not, I will tear open the ground around these springs. We'll see what you do. You're acting against the Tao, the ice and fire yin-yang. Well gathers the world's luck. If you destroy it, nothing good will come of it. Yu protested weakly. Snow Empress lifted one pale, jade-like hand. Her palm shimmered faintly. Yu immediately crumpled, terrified, and sobbed. I'll give them. Please don't kill me. It's been so hard to reach my cultivation. Please, I don't want to die. As Yu spoke, the soil around its origin stirred and treasures flew up, mostly heavenly spirit objects, and 2 spirit bones among them. Snow Empress motioned for Shu Yan to take them all into his possession, then demanded coldly, Also hand over the affable queen, Douluo Immortal. Don't force me to take it myself. Yu's origin trembled. Can I give you other treasures instead? I really can't give the affable queen, Douluo Immortal. You dare hide other treasures, the Snow Empress snapped. She grabbed Yu's purple pistol. A soft cry followed as more than a dozen immortal herbs burst up from the soil and a purple bead the size of a cherry rose out, smooth, amethyst-like, with a faint cloud-like glow pulsing within. She caught it and tossed it to Shu Yan. Yu, utterly unwilling, whispered, Snow Empress, could you at least leave half for me? No, the Snow Empress answered coldly. Not a drop. Yu crumpled in misery, its petals closed in despair. After pillaging Yu, Snow Empress took Shu Yan and flew elsewhere. The fire apricot trembled, the cold aura forced it to hunch over. Compared to Snow Empress, it was weak and elementally suppressed. Panic and fear filled it. Under the Empress's command, it surrendered what it had. A viscous, fiery red substance condensed into a ball and drifted before Snow Empress. The fire apricot's aura diminished greatly. Please, there's nothing left. Let me go, it sobbed. Shu Yan's mouth twitched. All right, Snow Empress, stop staring. Look how it's crying. Snow Empress snorted, then turned and left. Shu Yan was surprised. He hadn't expected the proud, cold Empress to show a hint of tsundere-like impatience. They arrived before the octagonal, mysterious ice grass. Unlike the others, it remained calm. Sensing them, it spoke plainly. I want to go with you and become this human spirit. My condition is that you allow me to retain my spirit. The Snow Empress looked surprised. then demanded, "Why?" The octagonal mysterious icegrass paused, then answered, "First, I am tired of living here and want to see the outside world. Second, I sense the aura on this human. For me, his aura surpasses the extreme cold yin spring. Third, I want to become something greater." Snow Empress's lips curled slightly. "Very well, I agree." As a 100,000-year spirit beast of ultimate ice, the octagonal mysterious icegrass was naturally suppressed by Snow Empress, but the Empress felt a measure of kinship. The two were both ice creatures. She had already been eyeing it. The icegrass turned to Shu Yan, waiting for his reply. Snow Empress met his gaze with a look that clearly meant, "If you refuse me now, I'll grind you to dust." Shu Yan chuckled. "Welcome to our team." The octagonal mysterious icegrass sighed in relief. It had seen Shu Yan's potential. Joining him felt like the right choice. The rest of the well fell quiet. Even the fire apricot, weakened and embarrassed, whispered, "Is the octagonal crazy? He actually plans to go with a human. If this is real, everything's changed when we woke up." Yu spread its petals and gaped. It had not expected one of the well's two great ice and fire pillars to walk away. The octagonal mysterious icegrass had been the top combatant against external invasions. This was a huge loss. Just as Shu Yan prepared to call for Tianmeng and Shiji to help, Alex, who had been semi-dormant, repairing his divine sense, suddenly spoke. "Little fellow, wait a moment." At Alex's voice, the three Tianmeng beasts froze and looked up toward the gray figure over the lake of life. The power Alex had displayed before had awed everyone, even Snow Empress. His attainments in the spiritual domain were unquestioned. His form solidified, an elderly figure holding a staff of black, white, and gold, a faint smile on his face. "Little one, do you remember the spirit you mentioned to this old man last time?" Alex asked. "I studied the concept, combining your world's spirit with the essence of spirit beasts. The result surprised me. Your idea is not only astonishing, it's feasible." The three Tianmeng exchanged looks and grew serious. They remembered their excitement when Shu Yan first spoke of a spirit. If developed, it could bridge the deepest contradictions between humans and spirit beasts. Snow Empress, overhearing, felt interest stir. Though she could temporarily condense, her origin and other aspects lay within Shu Yan. Anything in the sea of spirit could not be hidden from him. Tianmeng could not contain his impatience. "Old man, what did you learn? You've been studying. Tell us." Elaix smiled. "Shu Yan's words sparked my inspiration. I borrowed a little soul origin from each of you and conducted an experiment combining your energies with Shu Yan's blood. The experiment succeeded." He continued, "Through that process, combined with a fusion and transformation ritual, you can become a special life form, one without a physical body, yet persistent. Its function would far exceed that of a spirit ring. It would be an entirely new ability for spirit masters, independent of spirit rings and spirit bones. It can replace spirit rings, but it is different. This will be a watershed invention that shakes our world." A stunned silence followed. Then Ice Empress asked, "So Elder Alex means to make the octagonal mysterious icegrass the first test subject for this spirit method?" Alex chuckled without denying it. "If it fails, what happens to the octagonal mysterious icegrass?" Tianmeng asked, curiosity barely contained. "Foolish," Shiji interjected before Alex answered. "The answer is obvious. It will die." Alex's smile did not change. "If it dies, its soul will be mine, and you can divide the rest among yourselves." Chapter 130, Experimental Subject, Han Ruoro's Plan, and Sharing a Husband. Ling Luochen, Danger. Shiji's warning cut through the spiritual sea. For a moment, the entire place fell silent. Then Elaix let out a soft sigh and said, "Although the soul spirit method has shown some initial controllability in my trials, without an actual live test, it remains theoretical. Using you, already fused with Shu Yan, as experimental subjects is risky. If the experiment fails, your soul origins could be badly damaged, and the powers within Shu Yan's body might spiral out of control. In that case, we could all be buried with him. Given such stakes," Alex continued, "you should know what's worth protecting." After a pause, the clear, measured voice of the Snow Empress answered, "Let's follow Elder Alex's suggestion. That's the safest course. As Elder Alex said, we and Ayan are inseparable. If one of us suffers, none of us benefit." Tianmeng nodded thoughtfully, then said, "Then it's a unanimous decision. Ayan, Snow Empress, please try to communicate with the octagonal mysterious ice grass. Shu Yan and the Snow Empress exchanged a look. The Snow Empress's gaze flickered briefly, but she said nothing further. She was no fool. Her longing for immortality and godhood far outweighed any minor fondness for a single spirit beast. The octagonal mysterious ice grass might be rare, but it was still only 100,000-year spirit beast. If things went wrong, Shu Yan could at least absorb its spirit ring directly. The brief pang of guilt vanished as the crisis continued to loom. After a few moments' deliberation, Shu Yan and the Snow Empress turned their attention to the octagonal mysterious ice grass, and Shu Yan was the first to speak. Shrek Academy, Inner Courtyard. After arranging everything for Nan Chichu, Ling Luochen, utterly exhausted, finally returned to her dormitory. The Earth Dragon Gate had lived up to its reputation among the continent's top 50 forces. Through connections, they'd handled all of Nan Chuchu's enrollment before Ling and the girl even reached Shrek City. Nan Chuchu was now a third-year student in the Shrek Outer Courtyard. Lying on the soft bed, Ling stared up at the canopy, thoughts running in circles. The last few days had been surreal, like a vivid dream that never fully faded. Now, back in her familiar room, she realized how much her world had changed. Thinking of Shu Yan made a smile bloom uncontrollably on her face. The chill and distance that had shadowed her heart had eased considerably. She rolled a few times, hugged a little bear doll as if it were Shu Yan, and calmed down. Before leaving, Shu Yan had sealed part of the origin power from the Ice and Snow Empresses and half of a 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow inside her. He'd told her clearly that this was the key to evolving her spirit into the ultimate ice. The seal she'd already begun refining over the past few days continuously nourished her body and spirit. Even the age limit of her spirit ring began to increase under that power. It was a strange, wonderful sensation. Ling benefited greatly, but a gnawing problem remained. How could she win Han Ruoro's approval? After Shu Yan's guidance, Ling had given up trying to shove Han Ruoro aside and claim Shu Yan for herself. Instead, she wanted Han's blessing and to be allied with her. But following Shu Yan's instructions, Ling, who usually acted without hesitation, decided to wait until Shu Yan returned to Shrek Academy before revealing the truth to Han. Moonlight had already slipped across the bed. Ling blinked sleepily, clutched her pillow like a lifeline, and drifted into a contented sleep. Moonlight filtered through the window, casting ripples across the bed. Two figures lay close together, their low voices and occasional laughter filling the room with a comfortable warmth. Ruo, your waist is so soft, and you smell so nice. Oh, this part is so big and soft. Ha! I never noticed before. Does that stinky Shu Yan eat that well? He's so lucky. Wu Ming giggled, hands wandering playfully over Han Ruoro's body. Minger, don't touch me like that, Han Ruoro protested, a flush rising to her cheeks. Wu Ming ignored the protest and laughed on. Shu Yan isn't here, so you're mine tonight. Don't resist. Resisting just makes me more excited. Han pinched the soft flesh at Wu Ming's waist and scolded lightly. Don't grin like that. If someone saw you, they'd think you'd turned into some kind of mischievous evil soul master. What's so evil about it? Wu Ming grinned back. Shu Yan even said that when I laugh like this, I remind him of an old acquaintance. I just don't know who it is. The two had been best friends for years. Sharing a bed and whispering secrets was normal before Shu Yan entered their lives. Lately, though, such moments had become rare. Sleeping beside a friend and sleeping beside a lover were different things. Mentioning Shu Yan, Han's expression softened, but worry creased her brow. I don't know where Yan has gone. He left without a Dao protector, and I don't know if he's in danger. I'm just afraid some other woman will take the chance to get close to him. Lately, I can't shake this unease. Wu Ming's face fell at that. Ruo, don't overthink it. Shu Yan's tastes are picky. Nobody could win him over in a short time like you could. Han's eyes dimmed with melancholy. She stroked Wu Ming's hair. He is loyal, but he's also restless. Even when he's with me, he seems distracted. Maybe it's a flaw common to children of big families, but I want him to be mine alone. I wish I could lock him away so he wouldn't meet any other woman. Wu Ming was taken aback. Secretly cursing Shu Yan for making her friend so anxious, she reached for comfort. Ruo, don't think like that. If it ever came down to it, I'd step back. You're my best friend. I would never betray you. If Shu Yan ever became a problem, I'd cut ties. Han's expression sharpened. She studied Wu Ming's face closely, and then, softly, she asked, Minger, do you have feelings for a Yan? Wu Ming felt her heart skip. Panic surged, but she forced herself calm. Her face gave nothing away. Ruo, why would you ask that? Han's voice was quiet but steady. Your reaction just now was too perfect. It wasn't like you. If you weren't attracted to him, you wouldn't have acted like that. You're too good at hiding things. Wu Ming froze. Inside, terror flared. Han Ruo was the most important person in her life. Losing her friendship over this was unbearable. Tears pricked her eyes. Ruo, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide anything. You know you're my best friend. If you ask me to, I'll leave Shu Yan as soon as he returns. I won't ever appear in front of him again. Please don't be angry. Her voice broke. Real tears streamed down her face, unlike the confident, fierce persona she usually showed. Han watched silently for a long moment. Then she reached out, wiped Wu Ming's tears away, and pulled her close. It's all right, Minger. I'm not blaming you. We've known each other forever. It's natural for feelings to develop. I only blame myself for not noticing sooner. Han's voice was gentle, but there was an edge to it. Actually, I can accept this. I agree to let you and A Yan be together. Wu Ming froze. What? Ruo, did you just say? Han smiled faintly and stroked Wu Ming's face. I said I agree, but there are conditions. You must promise me 3 things. Wu Ming stared. Han continued, speaking slowly and seriously. First, Minger, you must always put me first. Whatever I ask of you, you must obey, no exceptions. If I forbid something, you must not do it, even if A Yan asks. Second, you cannot have children before I do. Third, if you accept these terms, you must never regret it. You must stay by our sides, by A Yan's and mine, forever. The moonlight fell on Wu Ming's face as she absorbed the terms. After a long, trembling moment, she nodded. I promise. From today onward, I will only listen to you. Han's smile deepened, but there was a bitter undertone in it. If Shu Yan's presence drew other women's attention, Wu Ming, who had been by their side day and night, was a safer choice to keep him close. Her origin of the idea came from books, but now it was reality, sharing a husband with a close friend. It was uncomfortable, strange, and oddly thrilling. The 3 conditions Han demanded were not truly excessive. Wu Ming already followed her lead in many things. Now, sharing Shu Yan would formalize that arrangement. Good girl, Han murmured, rubbing Wu Ming's head. Wu Ming leaned in like a kitten, comforted. We'll be together forever. But Minger, Han added, voice light but probing, are you and Yaoer hiding something from me? Tell me the truth, just this once. Wu Ming hesitated then, thinking of Han's earlier conditions. She gritted her teeth and spoke. Ruo, if Yao Jie and I aren't mistaken, Shu Yan might have someone else. Ling Luochen, she just returned to the academy these last 2 days. She went on a black-level mission to the extreme north and fought a group of snow beasts alone. I heard she brought back a young lady from the Tianhun Empire, the young miss of the Earth Dragon Gate. Han's hand tightened on the bedsheet with an audible creak. Her eyes went hard. Ling Luochen? She repeated quietly. Interesting. Wu Ming hurried to add, we didn't tell you because we were afraid you'd rush off to find Shu Yan. A dangerous calm settled over Han. She lifted Wu Ming's chin and met her gaze. A Yan said his training is in the Tianhun Empire, starting at the extreme north. He even told me he'd bring me a special gift when he returned. If he's really gone that far, then he's gone for a great opportunity, and it could take a long time. Han's intuition clicked into place. Ling Luochen's black-level mission was to the edge of the extreme north. She would have been finishing up around the same time Shu Yan would be there. I want to see this young miss from the Earth Dragon Gate tomorrow. If my guess is right, then we'll deal with it. Her tone turned icy. Minger, if you ever hide something like this from me again, you'll kneel. Kneel until every detail comes out on its own. Do you understand? Wu Ming swallowed and nodded, voice small. Yes, if it happens again, I'll come to you and kneel. Han Ruoro's gaze made the room chilly. It was the first time Wu Ming had seen her like that, unyielding, sharp, terrifying. She hugged Han's waist tightly and murmured, we'll be together forever. Han replied, good sisters forever. Chapter 131, Nanchu's Dark Day. Junior sister Ling, open the door. Senior sister brings warmth. Morning mist hung low and thin. A light rain blurred the view, and the teacup on the table radiated a gentle warmth, its delicate scent filling the room. A good day, people said, began with a cup of morning tea. Today's sky, however, was dull and heavy. Dark clouds gathered in the distance, and Sea God Island was swallowed by a white haze. If I don't do some exercise before bed, I never sleep right. Ling Luochen exhaled softly, cupping her tea. Since opening the door to the new world, she felt odd changes in both mind and body. More than anything, she missed Shu Yan. Without him, she felt cold and alone again. The contrast was painful and left her unsettled. Shu Yan himself had once said she was a person of contradictions. On the bed, she could seem like someone entirely different from her usual self. Terrible weather, she murmured, and abandoned her plan to cultivate in the imitation cultivation ground. Instead, she would stay in and refine the energy Shu Yan had sealed into her. Ever since experiencing ultimate ice in Ice City, she'd been obsessed with it. Turning her spirit into true ultimate ice as quickly as possible was now one of her main goals. She wanted to keep up with Shu Yan's pace, or at least not hold him back. That was her bare minimum. While Ling Luochen secluded herself to cultivate, Han Ruoro and Wu Ming changed into the red school uniforms of the inner courtyard and headed for the outer courtyard together. Walking familiar paths stirred something in Wu Ming. She hadn't returned to the outer courtyard much since entering the inner courtyard. Old memories, long sealed away, resurfaced sharp and clear. They stopped at the door of Class 7, Grade 3. The sight of the red uniforms made the teacher, mid-lecture, fall silent. Though an outer courtyard teacher, he knew what those uniforms meant. He gently signaled the class to quiet down, cleared his throat, and stepped to the doorway. "Students, do you need something?" he asked. Han Roro smiled. "Sorry to interrupt, teacher. We're looking for student Nan Chuchu. We need her assistance. Could you send her out?" "Looking for Nan Chuchu. Who might you two be?" The teacher scratched his nearly bald head. "My name is Han Ruoruo, and this is Wu Ming. We're both inner courtyard students. You must have heard of us?" Recognition and panic crossed the teacher's face. He quickly agreed. Golden Fairy Han Ruoro and Golden Crow Saintess Wu Ming, names that carried weight. Although they were students and he a teacher, their status made him deferential. He called out Nan Chuchu, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Nan Chuchu had been dozing and looked up as the teacher called her. For a moment she met two eyes as gentle as water. Her heart gave a little tremor, an inexplicable prick of unease, but it passed. The teacher told her she didn't need to attend class and should go with the senior sisters. She was curious, but glad to escape the boring lecture, and she didn't know these two inner courtyard seniors. What harm could they do? She stood and followed them. After the three left, the classroom settled into a hush and the teacher resumed the lesson. They walked along the lakeside path. Nanchuchu watched the two senior sisters, so different in temperament, and asked, "Senior sisters, what do you need me for?" Wu Ming smiled. "Nothing big. Just a few questions. Don't be nervous. Just come with us." Nanchuchu nodded. They wandered until they reached a secluded spot under the trees. Suddenly Hanroro stopped, her smile gone and replaced by an icy expression. Nanchuchu's heart skipped. She instinctively stepped back. Before she could brace herself, a soft weight caught her. Wu Ming had moved in close, her face inches away. The air shifted. Nanchuchu froze. She looked helplessly at them, trying to keep panic down. "Senior sisters, what are you doing? I haven't offended you, have I?" "Of course you haven't, junior sister," Hanroro said smoothly. "We just have some questions, but from now on, tell the truth, if you lie." She trailed off with a threatening hum as Wu Ming ignited Golden Crow True Fire in her palm. Heat warped the air, and the temperature around them spiked. Hanroro's gaze fixed on Nanchuchu. After a moment, Hanroro asked directly, "How did you and Ling Luochen meet?" Nanchuchu's panic eased a little with the question. She fumbled to recall. "Not long ago, senior sister Ling and her boyfriend went to make a deal with our Earth Dragon Gate. They took a treasure from a secret realm that our gate had guarded for 1,000 years. I met senior sister Ling then. As for me, my mother arranged for me to come to Shrek Academy." Hanroro clenched her fists, her eyes turned cold. "What's her boyfriend's name?" Nanchuchu trembled under the murderous look. It seemed to be Shu Yan." At those words, both Han Ruoro and Wu Ming turned grim. Han Ruoro struck a boulder by the lake with such force that it cracked and crumbled into dust. Nan Chuchu, frightened almost speechless, collapsed to the ground trembling. What a Ling Luochen! How dare she steal my home? The audacity! Han Ruoro's eyes were bloodshot as immense spirit power poured out. Wu Ming quickly shielded Nan Chuchu. Otherwise, the raw pressure alone would have left her incapacitated. Minger, let's return to the inner courtyard. I want to have a proper talk with Ling Luochen. Find out where she got such nerve. Han Ruoro's voice was hoarse with fury. Nan Chuchu clung to Wu Ming's leg, nearly in tears, as the chi vortex from Han Ruoro's outburst faded. Wu Ming's body trembled too, but she nodded silently and transformed into a streak of golden red light to follow Han Ruoro. Left alone, Nan Chuchu stood a long while, the breeze finally cooling her face and clearing some of her panic. She slapped her thigh when a memory surfaced. She had inquired about this before and forgotten. "This is bad," she scolded herself. "I knew something felt off when I followed Senior Sister Ling and Shu Yan, so she's not his official girlfriend." She paced anxiously. Shu Yan had always been flirtatious, and now he'd left Ling Luochen exposed to danger. She felt helpless and guilty. Ling Luochen had been kind to her since they met. Now Nan Chuchu's chest ached at the thought of her friend in trouble. In the inner courtyard, two rainbows cut the sky. Ma Xiaotao halted mid-practice, as did a tall, composed young man opposite her. A soft male voice nearby commented on a powerful aura, stronger even than Xiaotao's. Ma Xiaotao frowned. That feels like Han and Wu. In the inner courtyard, the only one whose flame aura rivals mine is Wu Ming, and she's never without Han. If I'm right, it's them. Dai Yueheng joined them. What could make them return to Sea God Island at such speed? They could only speculate. If it were something public, the inner courtyard would be buzzing, but it was unusually quiet, so it must be private. Ma Xiaotao urged everyone to keep practicing and wait for word. If Shu Yan returns from training, whatever happened might get complicated. We should be ready. Gong Yangmo, curious, asked if Shu Yan was really that strong. Ma Xiaotao rolled her eyes. I couldn't even retaliate against him when I was in full evil fire phoenix form. He only used his first spirit ability and a bit of spatial power then. He's not just strong, he's unnaturally talented. A spirit king at 12 is beyond remarkable. His spirit stems from the purest dragon clan bloodline. Others nodded in gravity. Shu Yan's abilities had already humbled several inner courtyard members in previous encounters. Chen Zifeng laughed lightly when Ma Xiaotao warned that Shu Yan's return might force the teacher to remove someone from the Shrek Seven Devils roster. Chen Zifeng shrugged philosophically. If he lost his place, so be it. It would be his lack of strength, nothing more. Then, two figures landed on a dappled path beneath the trees. Their quiet footsteps felt like a drumbeat to Ling Luochen, who had been meditating. Her frown deepened, and she abruptly woke. Her heart hammered with an unnameable foreboding. "What's wrong?" she whispered to herself, pushing open the door and descending the stairs. The moment she reached the bottom, there was a sharp knocking at the door. Ling Luochen paused, then hurried to the door. The plain wooden door suddenly seemed impossibly heavy. Two more knocks followed, and a familiar voice called out, startling her completely. "Junior Sister Ling, open the door. Senior Sister brings warmth." Her fingers trembled on the knob. She knew the voice, but she had no time to think. A premonition warned her that if she didn't open the door, something might happen to the threshold itself. She took a breath and flung the door wide. Light flooded the dim room. Ling Luochen squinted. A flash of red light stabbed her pupils and her body tensed. She hadn't yet reacted when something overwhelmed her. She lost control. After a clang, Ling Luochen's world tilted. When she came to, she was sprawled in front of her soft sofa. The light wasn't harsh, but it was enough to make her pupils contract. Han Ruoro sat on the sofa, watching her with cold, unreadable eyes. The sound of the door closing clicked shut behind her. Ling turned her head and saw Wu Ming standing there, looking down. Panic flared. This meant Han Ruoro knew about her and Shu Yan. Yet a sliver of reason protested. How could Han possibly have heard? Aside from herself, only Nan Shui and Nan Chu of the Earth Dragon Gate should have known. A jade-like hand shot out, pinched her chin, and hauled her up hard enough that she stumbled and fell to her knees before Han Ruoro. The golden rope at Han's side, a top-tier control system spirit, hummed with presence. Han's spirit Douluo level cultivation far outmatched hers. Ling, herself a control system spirit master, had no strength to resist. She also didn't plan to fight. Ling Luochen, how dare you, Han said, her voice like ice. I warned you. Why didn't you just obey? An oppressive pressure pressed down on Ling. Her back bowed, but she stubbornly straightened. Ruo, Sister Ruo, I can explain, she began. Han leaned forward slightly. The gentleness she usually wore was gone. Her face was cold and hard. Her slender fingers traced Ling's cheek before she snapped, each word deliberate. Do you really think you can call me Ruo Jie? I admit I wronged you in this, Ling said, choking on the confession. But I truly like Shu Yan. It was my fault at the start, Sister Ruo. You can punish me any way you want, but I can't leave Shu Yan. Han let out a short, disdainful laugh, then hooked Ling's chin with one finger and lifted her face. She ran a fingertip along Ling's brows and eyes as if cataloging, amusement flickering across her features. Seduction, huh? Junior sister Ling, so cold and aloof on the surface, and yet capable of something like this. You think my boyfriend is that irresistible? Ling shot back weakly. For something like that, you'd swallow your pride and kneel to me, Han said, a dangerous softness to her words. Should I be impressed by your devotion or disgusted by your hypocrisy? Beneath the calm, Han felt sharp pain. The love that had felt entirely hers had been shared. She hated Ling for what she'd done, but she blamed Shu Yan more. If he'd refused, 10 Ling Luochens wouldn't have been able to get close. Possessiveness flared hot, and for a maddening moment, she wanted to strike Ling down. Reason, however, curbed that impulse. Killing Ling would fracture whatever she still had with Shu Yan. Besides, destroying one rival would only invite 1,000 more. She let out a breath she barely realized she'd been holding and regarded Ling with a complicated, reluctant softness. The golden rope slid over Ling's body. Faint gold light dissipated as the binding eased. Ling's heart stuttered as the suffocating restraint vanished and the golden light folded back into Han's hand. She swayed, looked up in confusion, and met Han's vacant, terrifyingly still gaze. That's enough, Han said finally. Since this is how things are, what else is there to say? If you truly love him, then I won't interfere. You two, go on. Han rose and waved a tired hand. Minger, I'm tired. Let's go. Wu Ming hesitated, then followed Han obediently, glancing back at Ling, who was still kneeling and dazed. They had only taken 2 steps when Ling rushed forward, spreading her arms to block them. She looked up, lashes trembling, voice shaking with raw urgency. Sister Roro, you can't leave Shu Yan. This is my fault. Hit me, scold me, I'll accept it. I don't ask you to accept me, but you absolutely can't abandon Shu Yan. She knew Shu Yan too well, who mattered to him most. If she drove Han away, it would be a disaster, a wound she'd carry forever. Han's gaze frightened her. It was so hollow she imagined she'd killed her. Ling couldn't bear the idea of being the cause of Han's ruin. Her knees gave out. She sank and knelt again. I know how important Shu Yan is to you. I don't know what to do. If you accept me, I swear from today on, I'll put you first. I'll be your most loyal supporter. I don't ask for a title, only to stay by Shu Yan's side for life. If you won't accept me, I'll withdraw from Shrek Academy and disappear. Silence hung in the room. Then Han squatted down. In Ling's bewildered, helpless eyes, Han reached out and gently wiped her tears away. She folded Ling into a soft embrace, leaned close to the girl's warmed ear, and murmured, Then remember what you said. From today on, you must listen to me. Put away your pride and indifference when you're with me. Be a cat that knows how to please its master. A cat I raised. Understood? Warm breath brushed Ling's neck. An impossible sensation uncoiled inside her. She opened fogged eyes, looked at Han's precise face, and obediently nodded. So obedient, Han whispered, kissing Ling's forehead before tugging her up. Ling let herself be pulled to her feet. Her head spun. Shame and a tremulous exhilaration undulated through her. Seeing Han made every resistance inside her dissolve. It felt like something deeper than willpower, like an inheritance pressing down on her bloodline. Even if her mind wanted to fight, her body chose to submit. Wu Ming watched the scene with a tremor in her chest. If she remembered correctly, this was the same way Han had tamed her long ago. Han had changed in a way she couldn't quite explain. not the gentle, elegant person she had been. And when Han spoke a single sentence, everything Wu Ming had built up in self-defense crumbled. They moved back to the sofa and sat. Ling leaned into Han's arms, while Han dabbed away the tear tracks with a tissue. Seeing Ling so compliant, Han's expression softened even more. If she couldn't keep Shu Yan's wandering heart entirely, she would control everyone who might tempt him. She wouldn't let anyone encroach on what was hers in his heart. Her domain would not be divided. Han traced Ling's reddened lips with a fingertip and asked quietly, "Luochen, how far did you and Ayan go?" Ling's breath hitched. She answered honestly. Everything that could be done was done. A flicker of something like fury passed Han's face, but she didn't lose control. "You really made off like you got a bargain, didn't you?" she said, voice calm but low. The air around her dropped, making the room chill. "Sister Ruro, I'm sorry. I didn't know you hadn't." "Enough." Han cut her off. She was in a bad mood. Nights she could have given herself to Shu Yan, nights she had hesitated, shied away, or ignored his advances out of shyness. Now the treasure she'd guarded so delicately had been tarnished by another's touch. Anger rose, but reason held firm. Her tone softened. "Making a mistake means being punished. Do you understand that?" Ling swallowed hard and nodded. She had no way out now, and honestly, she couldn't resist Han anyway. Han smiled, and the smile was all promise and menace. "Since your attitude is honest, Big Sister will punish you later." The curve of that smile sent a cold premonition through Ling's heart. She knew whatever Han had in mind would be unforgettable. Chapter 133, The Soul Comes to the World, the First Soul Core, and the Ultimate Darkness, Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well. After Shu Yan and the Snow Empress coaxed and tricked the octagonal mysterious icegrass into submitting to the experiment of the so-called soul spirit method, it finally, half convinced, agreed. Once all preparations were complete, Shu Yan's aura shifted abruptly. A chill sanctity, as if rippling with death, burst out from him. His black hair turned a lifeless gray in an instant. At his feet, a gray spirit ring slowly rose. Immediately, every spirit beast in the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Fourth, well, Snow Empress included, felt an overwhelming, high-level pressure wash over them. What a terrifying feeling. I can barely move. Yu pulled back as best she could. After losing the heart of Mystic Golden Silk, her condition had been greatly weakened. Most of the other awakened immortal herbs were similar, collapsed on the ground and trembling. A staff materialized in Shu Yan's hand. Golden runes shimmered in the air around them, and threads of gray chi flowed inside them, radiating fluctuations unlike ordinary spirit power. "Listen to me. Open your mind. Don't resist. If you resist, I can't guarantee your survival." The warning was clearly aimed at the octagonal mysterious icegrass. Its eyes widened in alarm, but at the sound of Shu Yan's voice, aged and deeper than before, it still nodded cautiously. The golden runes froze into a barrier enveloping Shu Yan and the octagonal mysterious icegrass. Under their feet, a massive six-pointed star formation unfolded. Golden lines condensed slowly and then drilled into the icegrass's mental sea. The icegrass trembled violently but suppressed its instinct to resist. It knew that if anything went wrong now, its chance of surviving would be even smaller than the chances of the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well exploding. The golden light fully enveloped its soul imprint and mental origin. It wrapped around the octagonal mysterious icegrass, and for a full 15 minutes the plant's remaining body gradually dimmed as the light brightened. At last, the golden radiance became blinding. The octagonal mysterious icegrass's physical form vanished within it. The six-pointed star rose from the ground. Shu Yan lifted his staff and began a low, prolonged incantation. The words were clear, but incomprehensible to those listening. Yet those strange syllables made the heavens and earth tremble, warping the surrounding space. From Shu Yan's glabella, a globe of golden light emerged, and slowly intertwined with the golden globe that represented the octagonal mysterious icegrass's mental origin. The chant grew fervent and high-pitched. The mental force fluctuations were so powerful that even the Snow Empress instinctively stepped back. Yu and the others, watching from a short distance, trembled in terror. They could hardly imagine the terrifying presence hidden within Shu Yan. What kind of mental force could create such a cosmic phenomenon? The octagonal mysterious icegrass's life aura drained fast. But before any reaction could form, the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion Spirit attached itself to the Snow Empress, and another Crimson Spirit Ring ascended above her, two Vicious Beast Rings. Because those two rings absolutely suppressed it, the new ring's ferocious aura was dimmed significantly. At the same time, the octagonal mysterious icegrass's soul imprint entered Shu Yan's mental sea. Because Shu Yan and Alex were both using the soul spirit method for the first time, the octagonal's soul was affected and fell into a deep sleep the moment it entered his sea, wrapped in life energy. Its mental origin and spiritual consciousness, however, were preserved intact, capable of awakening after a period of slumber. The Snow Empress, Ice Empress, and the others exhaled in private relief. Yu and the others, originally panicked, were now stunned. In the last moments, they had perceived the icegrass's complete consciousness, and at the same time they felt the vast life energy within Shu Yan's mind, an ocean of vitality revealed whenever he lowered his defenses. "Feels like this octagonal fellow hit the jackpot," Fire Apricot muttered. +1, Yu and the Coxcomb Phoenix Sunflower, who were both still firmly restrained by the Snow Empress, agreed in unison. "This human is truly strong. Even that person from 10,000 years ago didn't seem to have such heaven-defying talent." Mystic Golden Silk Hibiscus spoke with gravity. As the king of immortal herbs, whose previous incarnation had been consumed by the nine-colored goddess Ning Rongrong 10,000 years ago to help evolve her 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda into the 9-treasure pagoda, achieving divine rank 2, its own cultivation and consciousness were vast. It had grasped the basics of Shu Yan's soul spirit method from their earlier conversation. It was deeply moved. More importantly, Mystic Golden Silk Hibiscus continued, "Didn't you notice? This human seems to have invented an unprecedented method. It might change the future." The comment was solemn. Mystic Golden Silk Hibiscus understood that the soul spirit method, now demonstrated by the octagonal mysterious icegrass's first step, could be feasible. With spirit beasts to have limitations under the law of the planes, reaching heaven-defying godhood had been impossible. Could the soul spirit method allow spirit beasts to follow humans, who might become gods, down a new Tao? The possibility startled and fascinated the immortal herb. A human with this imagination and capability might be qualified to reach divine rank. Perhaps, as the figure from 10,000 years ago had changed the spirit master world, Shu Yan could forge a new world in the future. After the Crimson Spirit Ring settled, the violent fluctuations around Shu Yan gradually subsided, though he remained in meditation. The Snow Empress frowned and murmured, "Is he really going to condense a soul core before fully stabilizing his aura? How reckless." Still, there was a trace of helpless pride on her face. He was her host. She would look after him. After a stiff glare at Shu Yan on the ground, she sat cross-legged and returned most of her consciousness to his mental sea, leaving only a sliver behind to guard against any sudden moves from the plant-type spirit beasts in the well. If any dared attack, that sliver of consciousness would instantly strike and kill without mercy. For Shu Yan, condensing the first soul core was not difficult. It was practically easy. In terms of spirit power quality, even many within the same realm, and some titled Douluo, could not compare. He had a continuous supply of extremely pure spirit power and powerful mental force to control its circulation. With the Snow Empress and others guiding him, he avoided major mistakes. Soon a silver-black spirit power vortex formed in his hand. The heaven and earth origin energy in the ice and fire yin-yang, well fluctuated wildly, then surged toward Shu Yan like water into a whale's mouth. This origin energy was dozens of times denser than anywhere outside and carried the unique aura of the well. Contact with it could be life-threatening to ordinary spirit masters. Shu Yan, however, could absorb it freely and turn it to his advantage. A spirit master usually condenses the first soul core based on the origin attributes of their spirit. Shu Yan's Yazi spirit contained darkness, space, and mental force. Space was the main attribute, while mental force and darkness were auxiliaries. He could not exclude any of them. As energy accumulated, the silver-black vortex in his hand tightened, forming a small black hole that shattered surrounding space like glass with continuous cracking sounds. The suction, darker than a storm, disturbed the entire well. Yu and the others wished they could flee 100,000 miles. They feared this power might go out of control and level the place. Gradually, however, the destructive phase receded. Shu Yan's condensation entered its final stage. Shiji and Heavenly Dream, the two mental force vicious beasts, lent their power, helping Shu Yan integrate the dazzling first soul core into his glabella. Spirit Masters can open soul cores at 3 locations: the glabella, the chest, and the dantian. The glabella is the hardest. Almost no human limit Douluo has dared to attempt it, because failure is fatal. The dantian is the easiest. The chest is slightly harder. Condensing the first soul core is the simplest of the 3. Shu Yan chose the glabella so that later condensation of the second and third cores would be easier. Once the soul core was wholly integrated, he would need time to absorb and harmonize with it. With that success, his cultivation would officially rise into the Spirit Saint realm. Time in the mountains slid by. 2.5 months passed in the blink of an eye. The Snow Empress had guarded Shu Yan throughout. She had already gathered most of the valuable treasures from the ice and fire yin-yang well. The plant-type spirit beasts seethed with resentment, but had no means to act against her. Her cultivation reached 700,000 years, and they dared not provoke her. During this period, Shu Yan's first soul core integration reached completion, and his cultivation officially broke into the Spirit Saint stage. On Shu Yan's instruction, once he had the soul core mostly under control, the Snow Empress consulted the book recovered from Yu and found a heaven and earth spirit medicine in a desolate stretch of the well. Underworld Ghost Ginseng. As the name implied, this ginseng had adapted to the well's harsh environment. After being nourished by millennia of dense heaven and earth origin energy and the special surroundings, the Underworld Ghost Ginseng was effectively a top-grade spirit medicine, just below an immortal herb, especially beneficial to spirit masters with darkness or death attributes. Shu Yan's Yazi spirit's dark attribute was already on the brink of extremity. With the Underworld Ghost Ginseng as a catalyst, plus some residual essence from the earlier Dragon Crystal, he smoothly evolved the dark attribute of his Yazi spirit to the extreme level. Space and mental force, by contrast, are special attributes with no fixed extreme threshold. In theory, their upper limit is boundless. Spirit masters with extreme mental force or extreme space were unheard of among humans or spirit beasts. A few days later, Shu Yan, who had been motionless like an old monk in meditation, finally stirred. A wave of powerful, sharp aura rolled out, startling the plant-type spirit beasts that had only just calmed. His aura, stronger than that human, titled Douluo from several millennia ago, yet he's only at the Spirit Saint realm. That's outrageous, Yu whispered, a note of awe threading her words. She sighed at humankind's potential. The plant-type spirit beasts agreed, tinged with a regret they couldn't name. It was a pity their attributes didn't match Shu Yan's. Had they bonded with him earlier, they might have benefited from his future rise. Who knew? If Shu Yan reached even greater heights, they might have shared in the spoils. After condensing his first spirit core and breaking through to the Spirit Saint realm, Shu Yan had effectively completed nearly 99% of his objective for this trip. Only one problem remained: where to get his 7th spirit ring. At first, Tianmeng had planned to fuse with Shu Yan after the breakthrough and act as a million-year spirit avatar, but he had later abandoned the idea. A Spirit Master's Spirit Avatar is one of the most distinctive and important spirit abilities for a Spirit Saint in the later stages of cultivation. The Avatar's strength is directly affected by the quality of the Spirit Beast used for the 7th Spirit Ring. Although Tianmeng had a million years of cultivation, the Ice Silkworm's race was simply too weak. It wouldn't produce a synergistic effect once made into Shu Yan's 7th ring. In Snow Empress's view, combining powerful rings was the better option. Snow Empress waved a hand and with an invisible spirit power suppressed the countless plant-type spirit beasts around them. Deep within the ice and fire yin-yang, vine-like joints appeared, purplish-blue, some turning nearly black-purple. A faint golden light gleamed from the darker vines, giving them an eerie appearance. What surprised everyone most was how still they looked, and yet destructive chi leaked from their bodies, creating a clear area with a radius of over 30 meters. Unlike Yu Yu's special case, the emptiness around the lightning-roaring hell vine was simply because the vine itself was that terrifying. The lightning-roaring hell vine, Snow Empress said softly, its main body's cultivation has reached 50,000 years. You study spirit beasts, so you should know how dangerous this one is. Normally, this kind of plant-type spirit beast has innate spiritual consciousness, but because it was born in the ice and fire yin-yang well and constantly subject to lightning, other plants together use the well's power to suppress it. Its main consciousness has mostly fallen into a slumber. Shu Yan rubbed his chin, eyeing the vine. It's powerful. Made into my 7th spirit ring, it might even grant some control over lightning tribulation power. More trump cards are never bad, but lightning isn't that tempting to me. I already have 2 ultimate attributes in my main body and the terrifying ability of spatial power, which exceed the value of lightning tribulation. Given that, the lightning-roaring hellvine's lightning is somewhat redundant. It isn't the best choice for my 7th spirit ring. Snow Empress's brows knit. She had spent 2 months planning this outing, and now he was dismissing one of her finds. Seeing her expression darken, Shu Yan quickly added, I actually have a better choice. Please hear me out. A Spirit Master's 7th spirit ring is crucial. Its age, quality, and compatibility all influence the final spirit avatar. Compared to the lightning-roaring Hellvine, the deep-sea demon Whale King, with over 600,000 years of cultivation, fits better as my 7th ring. Snow Empress frowned deeper and considered, then said, Deep-sea demon Whale King, I thought it would be more suitable as your 8th ring. Shu Yan smiled. For the 8th and 9th rings, I already have plans. For the 8th, we could go to the Sun-Moon Empire and either hunt or persuade Xie. Her cultivation is nearly 800,000 years. She'd make a great 8th ring. As for the 9th, you may not know, but the Clear Sky sect has 2 true divine beasts. One was once the Beast King of the Star Dew Great Forest 10,000 years ago, the Sky Azure Bull Python. After it sacrificed itself to sea god Tang San, it was resurrected in the god realm and became the Sky Azure Divine Dragon. The other is the Titan Giant Ape. They descended to the Douluo Continent 1,000 years ago, but the plain law of the continent suppresses them, so they can only show the strength of a Limit Douluo and a rank 98 Super Douluo. In truth, they're divine beasts. Free from the plain law, they could instantly resume their divine ranks. As divine beasts, their accumulated age might not match beast god Detian or Xie, but their life chi is at a divine level. Quasi-gods and half-gods aren't on the same plane as true gods. Snow Empress and the others in the spiritual sea exchanged surprised looks. None of them remembered when Shu Yan had learned this. But his eyes were earnest, and Snow Empress thought it over seriously before nodding. What you say makes sense. Those 2 divine beasts could give you divine rank spirit rings. The Sky Azure Divine Dragon would suit your 9th ring very well. The Titan Giant Ape's attribute doesn't match the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion, but the Scorpion itself is compatible and both share immense strength, so it's justifiable. After all, not everyone's main body is as useless as Tianmeng's. Her thin jab hit Tianmeng like a slap. He howled and sulked off to draw curse circles by himself. He might be able to argue a bit in front of Ice Empress, but not Snow Empress. He wasn't that bold. Snow Empress glanced back at the lightning-roaring Hellvine. Regardless, the vine is a rare and powerful spirit beast. Find a way to take it with you. It'll be useful later. Also, are you leaving for the sea now? Shu Yan shrugged, partly thinking how to take the vine, and replied, Not immediately. I want to go back to Shrek City first. I don't want to risk something happening there. He pictured the big shark at home. What if it ate poor little Ling Luochen? He knew Han Roro well, sometimes absent-minded, sometimes uncannily sharp. Her intuition was ruthless. He needed to sort things out with her. Avoiding it wasn't an option. At least he had the courage to take responsibility. Snow Empress nodded. Yes, rest and stabilize. Your cultivation advanced too quickly. Your internal chi and spirit power are unstable. When you condensed your first spirit core, you absorbed the surrounding heaven and earth origin energy greedily. For a long time, we couldn't relax a moment for fear you'd burst or be affected. You need time to restabilize your origin power. Shu Yan felt a little embarrassed. He had been reckless. After a moment, he looked at Snow Empress solemnly. "Thank you for everything you've done. I won't let you down." Snow Empress was taken aback by his seriousness. She turned her head awkwardly. "We're all willing to believe you, but don't overburden yourself. Pressure can spur improvement, but too much pressure isn't good." Shu Yan grinned and joked, "I'm still only 13. You were all exploiting child labor before. Any complaints?" Snow Empress pursed her lips. Tianmeng fell into contemplation. Ice Empress hesitated. Only Shiji raised her voice righteously. "If you don't work hard, are we supposed to work hard to make you a god? Little bullhorse, keep at it. Once you're a god, you'll be able to relax." Shiji didn't really believe a god would mean rest, but she enjoyed the logic. Shu Yan, seeing her lack of reflection, decided to teach her a lesson. He locked Shiji in a small dark room. A spiritual thought descended and sealed her inside a silver pillar of light. From outside, everyone could see and hear her, but Shiji perceived only blank space, the enclosing space so utterly quiet that a pin drop would have sounded loud. "Hey, Shu Yan, you stingy wretch, is this necessary? Let me out." A quarter of an hour passed in terrifying silence. "Shu Yan, if you don't let me out, I'll be angry. This is your last chance." An hour later, she pleaded frantically. "Brother Shu Yan, I beg, you're magnanimous. Don't bother with a soft, pitiful little spider like me." After 5 hours of staring at the same blank void, Shiji's protest turned into full-blown rage. "Shu Yan, you dog, if you've the guts, let this old lady out for a one-on-one fight. What kind of skill is locking me in a dark room? If you're a man, let me out. I'll bite you to death." "Ah, I hate you. How could I have been so blind to pick you as a host? You bully me. Lock me in a dark room." Tianmeng watched Shiji fumble inside the silver pillar for a while, then flipped over, found a comfortable spot, and went back to sleep. Ice Empress and Snow Empress sat quietly by a nearby lake, chatting. Shu Yan took it all in, then, after checking the treasures plundered from the ice and fire yin-yang, used a spatial anchor point to teleport instantly from the well to the outskirts of Sunset Forest. He left an exclusive anchor in the well, so next time he could teleport straight in and save time. Reaching Spirit Saint is the first major threshold for a spirit master. It grants a spirit avatar the ability to comprehend and wield the true meaning of one's spirit, and it raises one to the level where various forces across the continent show deference. Although Shu Yan still lacked his 7th spirit ring and the completed spirit avatar, the spirit and spatial power he had accumulated had more than doubled. Spatial teleportation across dozens or even hundreds of kilometers was no longer difficult. Push himself and 1,000 kilometers might be possible. Those were frightening numbers. Perhaps, as he had said, once he advanced to title Douluo or Super Douluo, there would be no place on the continent he couldn't reach with a single thought. His return to Shrek City was not meant to be long. The most pressing thing was to settle the harem problem between Han Ruoro and Ling Luochen. He didn't want to be out fighting while the big shark at home fell victim to a rival. What Shu Yan didn't know was that this time he went home, Han Ruoro had already prepared him a grand surprise, far beyond his expectations. Shrek Academy. The long stretch of rain had finally cleared, and last night's wind had scattered the dark clouds. The sun shone down, and dewdrops fell with a crisp, pleasant sound that brightened anyone's mood. Han Ruoro stood by a second-floor window holding a cup of milk. On the bed behind her, Wu Ming stretched lazily and then sat up without minding a slipping shoulder strap. The spring view outside was captivating, and Han Ruoro turned to look. "Be a little more careful, Minger," she chided lightly. Wu Ming giggled, unfazed. "Ruoro Jie, it's just the two of us here. What's a little sight between friends? Besides, you've already—" "All right, don't say any more," Han Ruoro cut in, cheeks faintly pink. Despite her scolding, she couldn't quite handle Wu Ming's directness, and she had to admit Wu Ming's assets were enviable. She'd never noticed before. Wu Ming grinned and looped an arm around Han Ruoro's waist, pulling her back onto the bed. After a while of playful messing about, they dressed and stood. "What a rare, nice day, Ruo Jie. Let's go out. I've been cooped up at home and I'm dying of boredom." Wu Ming had heard that Shrek City was about to host a massive exchange meeting. Merchants and dignitaries from the 3 great empires would attend. The excitement was high, and Wu Ming loved to join in the fun. Compared to a dull day in the library with Han Ruoro, she preferred to go out and take part. Chapter 135, The Price of Bullying Your Sister, Ling Luochen's Unforgettable Night. Faced with Wu Ming's suggestion, Han Ruoro hesitated for a moment and then shook her head decisively. Minger, in the past 6 months, I've taken you to nearly 20 trade fairs and exchanges. Honestly, it's a waste of time. You just eat, never do anything useful. Ruoro Jie, what are you saying? As the saying goes, food is the foundation of life. My eating is meaningful. Wu Ming protested, puffing out her chest with exaggerated pride. Look, I've put on a few pounds. Hanroro flushed at her friend's showy display and quickly turned away, pretending to be scandalized. Between the two of them, intimacy and teasing were old habits. Bathing together had happened more than once, so nothing Hanroro saw in Wu Ming surprised her too much. Their playful bickering was interrupted by a crisp knock at the door. Hanroro tossed Wu Ming her clothes and rolled her eyes at the friend still sprawling on the bed. Get dressed and come down for breakfast. If we have time, maybe we'll go for a stroll later. Really? Wu Ming jumped up, suddenly energized. In the span of a few blinks, she was dressed and had even dared to swipe on some of Hanroro's lipstick. Hanroro didn't bother to scold her. She went downstairs to open the door. Ling Luochen stood there with breakfast in hand. Hanroro stepped aside with a warm smile. Come in, let's have breakfast together, and then we can go for a walk. Ling Luochen nodded and stepped inside, meeting Wu Ming halfway down the stairs. Thanks to Hanroro's mediation, the two had mended fences recently. Old tensions faded in light of the friendship they all shared, and the prospect of standing shoulder to shoulder against future foes. The three of them traded a few friendly words and then set off. They spent the day in Shrek City, led by Wu Ming's boundless enthusiasm, and didn't return to the academy until dusk. Ling Luochen and Hanroro weren't the type to wander for long, but they indulged Wu Ming now and then. Back on Sea God Island, Ling Luochen was planning to go freshen up while Wu Ming trailed after Hanroro toward the dining hall. True to form, Wu Ming ate like the fire-type spirit masters Hanroro joked about, energy consumption off the charts. They had taken only a couple of steps when both of them froze. Ahead, a familiar figure stood waiting, smiling as he watched them approach. The man opened his arms. Before Wu Ming could react, Hanroro had already leapt into the embrace. Shu Yan held her tightly, pressing her to his chest as she buried her face in his neck, letting out a long, suppressed sigh. He patted her back and chuckled. Roro J, I'm back. You big rascal, you finally remembered to come back. Do you know how worried I've been? Hanroro jabbed at his chest with her small fists, feigning indignation. I planned to send you a message, but things got complicated. As soon as I was free, I came straight back. Shu Yan's excuse was only half true. He'd meant to write, but a prolonged meditation and an unexpected delay while condensing his first spirit core had kept him longer than he'd expected. You liar, Hanroro said, half exasperated, half amused. Looking at how he'd grown taller, how familiar his presence felt, she couldn't stay angry long. She pressed a quick kiss to his cheek. I don't blame you. A Yan is outstanding. Maybe I should have expected this. Shu Yan's face softened. Roroje, you know about Ling Luochen and me? I'm sorry. This is my fault. You're sorry? Hanroro's eyes took on that plaintive, wounded look that always disarmed him. Shu Yan felt it instantly and couldn't help but smile. He pinched her cheek and murmured, I'll make it up to you. Hanroro leaned in and kissed him. Their hands and lips moved with the easy familiarity of people who had known each other forever. Nearby, Wu Ming watched, cheeks puffed and eyes wide. She tutted but couldn't look away. When Hanroro finally stepped back, breathless, she remembered Wu Ming had seen the whole thing, and her face flamed. Shu Yan grinned mischievously, then bent down and nibbled at Hanroro's earlobe. A small sound escaped her, half protest, half pleasure. This is outside, and Minger is watching, Hanroro protested, pinching his arm. Wu Ming's voice came, small and wavering from behind them. This is still outside? Maybe you two should go inside? Her usual fieriness evaporated into a timid, embarrassed flush. Despite her boldness, she'd never even held a man's hand before. Faced with the couple's intimacy, she felt dizzy. Hanroro recovered herself, pushed Shu Yan gently away, and took Wu Ming's hand. Then she paused, turned back to Shu Yan, and said, "Go get Ling Luochen. I have something I want to tell all of you tonight." With that, she practically dragged Wu Ming away. Shu Yan watched them go with a soft laugh, then headed toward Ling Luochen's residence. At Han Ruoro's place, Wu Ming knelt on the floor, face burning. In front of her lay the outfit Han Ruoro had tossed her, little more than scraps of fabric. After a long moment of hesitation, she whispered, "Ruoro Jie, do I have to wear this?" Han Ruoro sat on the bed, cheeks still flushed from earlier. "Minger, do you remember what you promised me?" Those few words shattered Wu Ming's resistance. Her hands shook, but she didn't refuse. Piece by piece her clothes came off, and Han Ruoro's gaze grew softer and more satisfied. At the end, Han Ruoro wrapped a quilt around the trembling girl and murmured, "It's okay, Minger. It would have happened someday. Don't be embarrassed." Wu Ming trembled with shame and nerves. She could only imagine Shu Yan's reaction when he saw her like this. Each minute dragged into a lifetime. Not long after, Han Ruoro appeared at the top of the stairs in a silk nightgown, smiling down at them. "Come up, I have a surprise for you." Surprise? Ling Luochen frowned slightly when she heard that. An odd little premonition, but she dismissed it. Why mistrust Han Ruoro? She was too kind for mischief like that. Shu Yan raised an eyebrow. Something about the word felt off, but he trusted Han Ruoro completely. As Shu Yan took 2 steps up the stairs, a muffled thud sounded behind him. He turned and froze. A golden rope, Han Ruoro's spirit tool, like a living dragon, shot out and wrapped Ling Luochen in a tight bundle. With a flick of Han Ruoro's fingers, Ling Luochen's spirit power was sealed. Panic flared in her eyes. She blinked at Han Ruoro, bewildered. Han Ruoro pinched her cheek, smiling sweetly. "Don't worry, this is just Big Sister's little punishment. Daring to take the first bite of meat behind my back has a price." A chair flew up from the room and was fixed at the doorway. Helpless, Ling Luochen found herself lashed to it. Han Ruoro draped a light, translucent veil over her eyes. It blurred her vision. She could make out shapes but not details, and the deprivation sharpened her other senses until every sound and breath felt magnified. "Tonight, junior sister Ling Luochen, you'll guard the door for us," Han Ruoro said, rubbing the bound girl's head. Ling Luochen could only whimper in protest. Her words were sealed. Shu Yan inhaled sharply. He wanted to object, but Han Ruoro's eyes were gentle, and he held back. "Come on, Yan. Your big sister's prepared something special," she said, and pulled him into the room bathed in warm lamplight. Before Shu Yan fully registered what was happening, Han Ruoro pushed him onto the bed. The sudden force scattered the quilt. Under the soft glow, Wu Ming's figure appeared. Shu Yan's pupils contracted. He could hardly believe his eyes. "Senior sister Wu Ming, how could you?" he started. Han Ruoro pressed a finger to his lips. "Don't speak. This isn't the time for questions." Her voice was both coaxing and commanding. "Yan, you should know Minger likes you, and she's someone I approve of." "She's brave enough to tell you herself. You wouldn't break her heart, would you?" Wu Ming trembled and inched closer, unable to meet his gaze. I like you." Han Ruoro smiled. Satisfaction mingled with a darker glint in her eyes. She let the thin curtain fall and then looked toward the doorway where Ling Luochen sat, powerless and listening. Han Ruoro leaned over Shu Yan and whispered, "I've given you everything that matters most to me. In this life, don't betray me. Remember your vow. Our fates are bound. Even in death, we should be together." Her voice held an edge, fierce and possessive, but then softened into something hypnotic. What followed was intense, a wave of passion sweeping over the three of them and flowing outward, touching Ling Luochen through the closed door. Outside, the night felt suddenly alive. Stars streaked, sea god lakes shimmered, and the breeze rustled the treetops. For a single breath, a shooting star cut across the sky, as if illuminating the world for the moment. Then everything fell quiet again. Chapter 136, Morning Ripples, Ling Luochen's Ordeal, and the Immortal Herb Distribution. The silver moon slipped away, and the sky lightened at the horizon. Dawn crept in, dissolving last night's clouds and turning the heavens a clear cerulean blue. Good weather put everyone in a better temper. Shu Yan lay on the fragrant, oversized bed with soft warmth on either side. The touch of smooth, delicate skin felt like first-rate jade. A young man with beauties in his arms, Shu Yan felt nothing could be better. A sleepy murmur broke the silence. Wu Ming snuggled closer, one long leg pressing against Shu Yan's, one hand wandering as if guided by instinct. Half asleep, she mumbled, "Roro Jay, why are you so stiff? You're not as soft as before." Shu Yan couldn't help smiling. He reached over and pinched Wu Ming's nose. When she opened her eyes with a little squeak of discomfort, Shu Yan chuckled. "Senior sister, good morning." Wu Ming's face froze. She lifted the blanket in a furtive motion, then let it fall in mortification. Color flooded her cheeks. The memory of last night hammered into her, and she burrowed under the covers, too ashamed to meet Shu Yan's eyes. She could hardly believe she'd done something so uncharacteristic under the slightest provocation from her friend. Shu Yan, however, was less troubled. He had suspected before that Wu Ming cared for him, though she'd always been uncertain herself, too naive to tell friendship from something deeper. Her feelings for him had always depended on how the relationship developed. Now he was certain. Wu Ming had an attachment to him that only he could truly claim. With that certainty, Shu Yan peeled back the blanket and with a firm arm drew her into his embrace. "Senior sister, take care of me from now on," he said, lifting her chin until she met his eyes. Seeing the deep blush and betrayal of composure on Wu Ming's face, Shu Yan's amusement deepened. He kissed her lips, drawing her into his rhythm. And when Han Roro woke, that was the scene she saw. Her best friend's face was flushed. Wu Ming flailed a little, propped on Shu Yan's chest. Her eyes glittered in a way that even Han Roro felt startled. Wu Ming looked painfully alluring in that state. "You two are messing around. Don't drag me into it. What is this?" Han Roro covered her face with both hands and scolded, half in mock indignation. Wu Ming wanted to sink through the mattress. She silently begged Han Roro to save her and tear her out of this humiliation. But Han Roro merely turned her head away and said nothing. That only made Wu Ming more resentful. Once the worst had passed, she murmured a few weak words but was too exhausted even to reach for more. All she wanted was to be wrapped in cool silk and sleep forever. Shu Yan had been unrepentant in the moment, and Han Roro had mostly watched the spectacle. Wu Ming felt betrayed. Her friend had not helped, had only watched. Such was the cruelty of fickle friendships, she thought bitterly. By afternoon, Han Roro rose quietly, cleaned up, and prepared to call Shu Yan for lunch. She didn't expect Wu Ming to wake for hours. Wu Ming, even having been given a large infusion of life energy by Shu Yan, was still too spent to recover quickly. Han Roro paused, then hurried to the door and saw Ling Luochen still frozen where she had been left. After a night and a half of standing, Ling Luochen's lips were bitten until they bled, and the veil over her eyes was soaked with sweat. Han Roro couldn't bear to look straight at her. She withdrew the golden rope and helped the collapsing Ling Luochen to sit. Ling Luochen lifted her head weakly, eyes bright but resentful. "Roroje, water," she croaked. Han Roro helped her to the downstairs living room. Ling Luochen grabbed the teapot and drank it down in huge, desperate gulps. Once she'd emptied the pot, she settled enough to glare at Han Roro. If she'd known Han Roro's punishment would be this agonizing, she would have preferred to kneel for days. Anything but this torment. Han Roro's conscience pricked for a moment, but the thought of Ling Luochen's earlier behavior hardened her resolve. She spoke softly, but with an edge that made Ling Luochen flinch. "Go back, bathe, and sleep well." Ling Luochen hesitated, eyes flicking upward. Han Roro snorted softly. She knew exactly what Ling Luochen was thinking. Hearing and seeing without being allowed to touch was the worst kind of torment, and Han Roro wasn't willing to give Ling Luochen that satisfaction. She added with a teasing smile, "Rest now. Come back tonight to guard the door. If you're not there, I can't sleep soundly." For Ling Luochen, a single night of duty seemed a small price to pay, but before she could speak, Han Roro continued, the gentle tone turning ice cold. "And remember what you promised. I don't like disobedient little cats. 7 days, only 7 days. If you can endure that, I'll truly accept you, but if you dare to approach Ayan secretly during those 7 days, even if you kneel and beg me till you die, don't think I'll accept you." The words struck Ling Luochen to the bone. Desire churned in her, but she knew Han Roro wasn't joking. After a painful internal struggle, she nodded reluctantly and left with light, obedient steps. Dusk finally woke a thoroughly exhausted Wu Ming. Her body ached and she frowned, but beneath the soreness thrummed a deep, inexplicable contentment. Shu Yan came in, sat beside the bed with a glass of water, helped her upright and pressed it to her lips. "Drink, your mouth is so dry," he said softly. Wu Ming rolled her eyes and croaked. "This is all your fault. You bully me, but you don't bully Ruo Ruojie." She added, half plaintively, "You didn't even leave me any benefits." "Didn't I?" Shu Yan said, watching her gulp the water in one breath. The liquid soothed her cracked lips and hoarseness. She sniffed and said in a clearer voice, "Two ways of leaving can't be the same, you bastard. You forced me into it." She was part embarrassed, part angry, and hooked her teeth into Shu Yan's arm in mock retribution. A metallic tang filled her mouth, and he flashed a wry smile. The bite stung slightly, but with his rapid recovery, the mark vanished in an instant. Wu Ming blinked at him, surprised by the nonchalance. Shu Yan, smiling, put the glass down and teased, "Don't stare. Keep looking and you'll wear a hole through my hand." Annoyed, Wu Ming shoved his hand away. "Even if you beg me later, I'll never look at you again." "Is that so? When did senior sister get so brave?" Shu Yan teased, kissing her forehead. He placed clothes Han Ruoro had prepared by the pillow and said, "You should get dressed. It's almost dinner time. Ruoro Ji said to ask what you want to eat. She'll cook it herself." Wu Ming grumbled but obliged, slipping into the clothes and hurrying off to wash. Shu Yan left her to it and went downstairs to tidy the room. When he came out, he found Wu Ming on the sofa with wet hair. She snorted when she saw him and flicked a golden red light from her hand. Her flamboyant hair dried instantly as heat evaporated the remaining moisture in the air. Han Ruoro came out of the kitchen, carrying a pot of chicken soup. The two women's ease around Shu Yan had shifted into something different, natural and unforced, which made Han Ruoro smile but not worry. If their relationship remained exactly the same after that night, she would have found it strange. "All right, stop staring at each other and come eat," Han Ruoro said. Then she remembered, "Oh right, Ayan, you said you had a surprise for us?" Wu Ming's eyes lit up. Anything Shu Yan called a surprise usually had value and effect. She was eager. After entering the Spirit Saint realm, her cultivation had slowed despite a special cultivation room, and her potential still lagged behind Han Ruoro's. With Shu Yan's sudden resurgence, Wu Ming was more determined than ever not to fall too far behind. She wanted to advance. Shu Yan reached into his storage spirit tool and produced a fiery red, gelatinous mass. "Here, senior sister, take this. Every fire attribute Spirit Master would kill to have it." When Wu Ming saw the glowing gel, her spirit quivered. Her three-legged golden crow spirit was already a top-tier beast spirit, rivaling Ma Xiaotao's evil fire phoenix. Compared to the phoenix's malevolent flame, the golden crow's true fire was purer and less problematic. Its main flaw was to make its bearer more irritable, but that was a small price for power. She took the gel cautiously and felt it stir something in her core. "What is this? It makes my spirit want to erupt." Shu Yan smiled. "You might remember, 10,000 years ago Tang San, leader of the seven gods, used two peerless immortal herbs, the fire apricot and the octagonal mysterious ice grass, to temper ice and fire bodies in a place called the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well. This gel is the essence from the body of a 100,000-year-old fire apricot. What I'm giving you is enough to let your spirit advance into the realm of ultimate fire." "What?" Wu Ming and Han Ruoro burst out in unison. Chapter 137, The Snow Empress appeared. "Senior sister, why are you kneeling?" After the first shock faded, Han Ruoro quickly calmed down. Her eyes fixed on Shu Yan as she asked, voice suddenly serious. "Ayan, are you saying you found the legendary Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well and actually obtained those peerless immortal herbs that only exist in ancient records?" Shu Yan chuckled. "Ruoroji, you're as sharp as ever. Basically, that's right. But the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well is a place where the luck of the world gathers. Combined with its unique environment, after 10,000 years, some of the immortal herbs there developed full sentience and evolved into 100,000-year plant-type spirit beasts. They're at least 1,000 times more dangerous than they were 10,000 years ago." Han Ruoro and Wu Ming's pupils constricted. In the next instant, Han Ruoro reached out, grabbed Shu Yan by the collar, and ground out through gritted teeth. "So you went into the lair of a bunch of 100,000-year spirit beasts alone to adventure?" You can't expect me to be calmly surprised if that's the case. You bastard, do you know what 100,000-year spirit beast is? You're only a quasi-spirit saint. What if you died there? What would we do? We wouldn't even know where you went. By the end, Hanroro's voice was almost a roar. Shu Yan froze for a moment, then gently pulled the agitated Hanroro into his arms, stroked her back, and soothed her softly. All right, Roroi, don't jump to conclusions. I may only be a quasi-spirit saint, but you know how strong I am. I won't leave you in this life. And I didn't go alone. Hanroro in his arms went still. She pushed away, breathing sharply. You didn't go alone? Why didn't you say so earlier? You didn't ask, Shu Yan said innocently. You didn't ask, so you didn't have to tell me. Speak. Who went with you, male or female? Shu Yan, you'd better not tell me you have a sweetheart on the side. I allow affection, but only within my permission. If you overstep, I'll bite you to death. Hanroro bared her small canines and wore an exaggerated, fierce look. Wu Ming immediately positioned herself at Hanroro's side, sounding oddly vengeful in her support. Hanroro, always quick, instantly understood Wu Ming's intent, but there was no time to argue. Shu Yan held up his hands helplessly and explained. During this run of training, I accidentally discovered a way for spirit beasts to fuse with a spirit master without dying, and to provide spirit rings to that spirit master. I call it the soul spirit method. The soul spirit method is much safer than the traditional way of killing spirit beasts for rings. It can even let the spirit beast who becomes a spirit ring assist its spirit master in battle in another form. Soul spirits have many advantages and also drawbacks. I'll explain those later. So, to be clear, the ones who came to the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well with you weren't human. As soon as Shu Yan finished, Hanroro and Wu Ming both went blank for a beat. Seeing their expressions, Shu Yan decided to give them a stronger shock. He called out to the Snow Empress in his spirit sea. The Snow Empress, who'd been enjoying Sheiji's full-body massage, clearly didn't want to be summoned, but Shu Yan nagged until she finally appeared before them with a rueful expression. The instant Hanroro and Wu Ming saw her, both took an involuntary step back. Her aura was unlike anything common, cool, sharp, and utterly sovereign. Hanroro, with 100,000-year spirit ring and deep cultivation, could withstand the slight pressure the Snow Empress radiated. Wu Ming, however, was a fire attribute spirit master facing an ultimate ice and snow attribute vicious beast. She trembled all over, her spirit quivered, and her legs went weak. There's a limit Douluo and a 98th rank super Douluo on Sea God Island. The Golden Tree itself is a divine rank existence. I truly don't know why you dared to summon me here, the Snow Empress said, disdain clear in her tone. She looked at trembling Wu Ming hiding behind Hanroro, then at Hanroro herself, before fixing her gaze on Shu Yan with obvious resentment. Shu Yan only smiled. With Tianmeng and Sheiji covering for you, it's almost impossible for Elder Mu and Elder Xuan to detect your aura unless they actively investigate together, he said. Besides, this body of yours was condensed entirely from the pure heaven and earth treasure of the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow and carries no ordinary spirit beast signature. If you don't make a scene, who'd notice anything strange? The Snow Empress's displeasure deepened. What do you mean, make a scene? Am I made of air? I've ruled the extreme north land for hundreds of thousands of years. You're only the second person who dares to speak to me like that. She sneered. The last one who spoke to me like that was the Titan Devil King. Do you know what happened to him? Humph, I broke every bone in him. If it weren't for a trace of ice god bloodline, he'd have long been a pile of bones in a tomb. Shu Yan laughed. All right, my dear Snow Empress, but your imperial tone doesn't quite fit the situation. Let me introduce them properly. These two are my girlfriends. This is Hanroro, my elder sister who's taken care of me since I was a child, and, senior sister, why are you kneeling? He turned his head and was stunned. Wu Ming was on her knees, barely steady, leaning on Hanroro's leg. My legs felt weak. It's more comfortable to kneel. Wu Ming muttered weakly. She couldn't very well admit she was terrified of the Snow Empress. The Snow Empress snorted. I remember. Her name is Wu Ming. You mentioned her when you ordered me to snatch the essence from the fire apricot's true form. My memory is not that bad. Shu Yan raised an eyebrow and glanced at Han Ruoro, who immediately understood. She pulled Wu Ming up and sat her on the sofa beside them. Shu Yan cleared his throat. Roroje, senior sister, this is the Snow Empress, the Ice Heavenly Snow Empress, true ruler of the extreme North land. Both Han Ruoro and Wu Ming had studied at Shrek Academy for years. Their knowledge of spirit masters and spirit beasts was solid. From the Snow Empress's earlier words, they had already guessed her identity, but hearing Shu Yan confirm it still sent a jolt through them. The extreme North's three great heavenly kings were legendary across the continent. Even Shrek Academy's outer court students learned about them. The Snow Empress, a peerless, vicious beast with at least 500,000 years of cultivation, should be utterly contemptuous of humans. What shocked them more was how natural Shu Yan's relationship with her seemed. The Snow Empress even appeared indulgent toward him. The thought of indulgence, ridiculous as it was, kept surfacing in both their minds. After a long silence, Han Ruoro cautiously spoke. Snow Empress Senior, hello. Wu Ming echoed, uncertain how to address such a being. Senior, Empress, or something else. The Snow Empress seemed unbothered and relaxed. Absolute strength brought serene composure. She let out a barely audible chuckle. You don't need to be nervous. I won't eat you. Besides, although I'm not truly a soul spirit, I am almost indistinguishable from what you call one. This body you see is condensed using some heaven and earth treasure. Shu Yan nodded. The Snow Empress is the second spirit of my second spirit. I'm planning to make her a soul spirit. A vicious beast soul spirit like the Snow Empress could give me at least 4 or 5 orange vicious beast spirit rings. This is one advantage of soul spirits. A 100-year soul spirit can provide the spirit master with spirit rings equivalent to 2 200-year rings, a 1,000-year one, 3, a 10,000-year one, 4, a 100,000-year one, 5, and a vicious beast soul spirit's limit should be 6. These are preliminary guesses, no definitive experiments yet, but the soul spirit method is indeed viable. At the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well, we already created the first soul spirit in history. Its core was the 100,000-year immortal herb octagonal mysterious ice grass, and it provided my 3rd and 4th spirit rings. As Shu Yan spoke, he stood and 4 red spirit rings rose up slowly. The room's temperature dropped sharply, even as he restrained himself. An ice blue, 8-cornered little grass emerged from Shu Yan's body, but the octagonal mysterious ice grass's main consciousness was still dormant. It twitched a few times at Shu Yan's call and then quieted. Shu Yan retracted his Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion spirit at once. He didn't want his cozy home to become an ice cellar. Han Ruoro and Wu Ming both shivered, especially Wu Ming. It was her first time feeling the terrifying suppression of an ultimate attribute. The pressure from a higher being was suffocating. Soul spirits, they're incredible. Han Ruoro murmured once she'd collected herself. One soul spirit can provide multiple spirit rings and even assist in battle. If that's true, soul spirits could totally change the human world. Maybe they could even end the conflict between humans and spirit beasts. Wu Ming slapped her thigh, suddenly bright-eyed and excited. Yes, that could change everything. Shu Yan cut through their excitement with a pragmatic tone. Don't get ahead of yourselves. Unless humans can develop the technology to create artificial 10,000-year soul spirits quickly, hunting spirit beasts for rings or creating soul spirits will still be the core conflict between the races. Human development is too fast in some ways, but the spirit beast race's natural potential and soul-guiding device tech are far superior. It's too early to say we can end the conflict now. When we reach divine rank and have the power to reshape the world's balance, then we can talk about it. Become divine rank? Wu Ming bit her lip at that sentence, not hiding her incredulity. You say it like it's easy. Not everyone's as freakishly gifted as you, Shu Yan. You became a 13-year-old spirit saint. Your cultivation speed is insane. I don't know how you do it. Han Ruoro pursed her lips, but said nothing. Shu Yan caught a flicker of disappointment in her eyes and cleared his throat. Let's leave that topic for another time. Come, Ruoroje, these 2 immortal herbs are for you. Shu Yan presented them with a smile. This one is the water immortal jade muscle bone. It moistens tendons and strengthens bones, allowing qi to circulate through your 7 meridians and 8 channels. Its effect is similar to the odd melon sky-reaching chrysanthemum, but that herb suits attack or defense-oriented spirit masters. The water immortal jade bone is better for agile attackers or control-type spirit masters. After you absorb it, your foundation, physique, meridian flexibility, and spirit power rank will all receive a significant boost. It's absolutely beneficial to your cultivation path. And this is Ink Jade Divine Bamboo, nearly 10,000 years old. If you absorb it, it greatly enhances the rigidity and flexibility of your spirit. Use it well, and your golden rope spirit won't just be a control type, it could be used as an attack form too, even transform into a golden spear. Shu Yan explained the effects carefully and handed the two top-grade immortal herbs, both over 50,000 years old, to Han Roro. With these, her path to limit Douluo would be completely unblocked. She was at rank 85 spirit power. After absorbing both herbs, she could jump to at least rank 89. Using immortal herbs to stabilize one's foundation removes the problem of an unstable base. Han Roro might even become a titled Douluo this year. Her heart swelled. She wanted to pounce on Shu Yan and kiss him, but the Snow Empress was watching with unreadable interest. Han Roro forced herself to be composed and said softly, "Ayan, thank you." Shu Yan smiled. For a moment, the air between them felt sweet. Wu Ming pouted and grumbled. "Hey, Shu Yan, I get that you like Ruo Ruoje, but don't be so biased right in front of me. You gave her 2 immortal herbs, and I only get a blob of hot glue?" Han Roro shot her a look, but said nothing. A little jealousy, she thought, was healthy. It made things lively. Wu Ming was always blunt. Han Roro liked that about her, as long as she wasn't scheming behind people's backs like Ling Luochen. Shu Yan looked helpless. Blob of hot glue? Ask Ma Xiaotao next door how much she'd pay for this. Be grateful. That blob is the condensed essence of a 100,000-year spirit beast over 10,000 years. Oh, Wu Ming pouted again, but simmered down. Shu Yan watched her and couldn't help but think how different women were in a relationship. Wu Ming, nearing 30, was still charming in a way that made him smile. All right, I'll give you another immortal herb. We nearly emptied the whole ice and fire yin-yang well, so I'm not missing one for you," he said generously. Wu Ming's annoyance flared. "Then why didn't you give it to me earlier?" "Because it was fun," Shu Yan said, grinning, nearly tempting Wu Ming to bite him. Snow Empress watched this domestic scene and felt oddly uncomfortable. Others were openly showing affection while she had to lurk in the background like a spectator. But wait, she was watching openly. Why did it still feel like something was missing from her life? Chapter 138, Spirit Bones and Subsequent Arrangements, seeing Tanya and Bei Bei again. After giving the immortal herbs to Han Roro and Wu Ming, Shu Yan checked the treasures stored in his spirit tool. The ice and fire yin-yang. Well, really was a top-tier treasure trove. The riches collected by the affable queen, Chiluo Immortal, if used properly, could easily create 3 super Douluo. The Snow Empress's heavenly might had driven Chiluo Immortal to empty out her reserves, and Shu Yan roughly cataloged them before turning to the 2 spirit bones. Both spirit bones were exceptional. One was poison attribute, likely from a Bilin Ju Hua, with about 50,000 years of cultivation. Its whole body shimmered emerald green. The bone itself looked like jade, with faint green fluid flowing inside. Because of the heart of Chiluo's suppression, the bone's deadly toxins couldn't leak out. Left unchecked, it could have turned a 100-meter radius into a sea of green. The other emitted a strong fire aura, a plant-type spirit beast bone, probably from a fire attribute beast such as a fire lotus or a fire apricot. Creatures in the ice and fire yin-yang wells ranks that were closer to 100,000 years old. Compared to other fire-type beasts, this breed was relatively gentle. Its bone would most likely grant an amplification-type spirit ability. Shu Yan glanced at Wu Ming, who was grinning foolishly while clutching 2 immortal herbs, and rubbed his forehead. He handed her the fire attribute spirit bone. "Senior, this one's for you too," he said. "I should note, the quality is excellent, about 70,000 years old, but it will probably only grant an auxiliary or amplification-type spirit ability." Wu Ming's eyes lit up. She snatched the bone, hesitated a moment, then impulsively kissed Shu Yan's cheek and laughed. "This is your reward. Sister thanks you." As the saying goes, The directest way to a woman's heart is sometimes the simplest. Shu Yan couldn't help but think it wasn't entirely wrong. Hanruo smiled softly and asked with some curiosity, "Didn't you prepare an immortal herb for Ling Luochen?" "I did. I'll give it to her tonight. I also gave her an 80,000-year Bai Mu Mohu Wang torso bone back in Ice City. Found it on a fallen spirit beast in the extreme Northland." Shu Yan answered honestly. The immortal herb he'd chosen for Ling Luochen was the 8-petaled immortal orchid, which required extremely careful extraction. It was one of the gentlest of the immortal herbs. Its original effect was to strengthen the origin, expel impurities, and speed a spirit master's cultivation. Ling Luochen's spirit had only recently evolved into ultimate ice, but her mental force hadn't reached a level where she could tangibly use it to envelop ultimate ice for cultivation. That slowed her progress. The gentle effect of the 8-petaled immortal orchid would counter that slowdown and lay a solid foundation for cultivation past level 70. Hanro wasn't surprised. She merely nodded. The Snow Empress, who had been silent, finally spoke. "Shu Yan won't stay long this time. We still need to go to the sea to hunt a deep-sea demon whale king and get its 7th spirit ring." Hanruo and Wu Ming both reacted. After thinking a moment, Hanruo asked, "Yan, how many days will you be staying?" 10 days at most," Shu Yan said. "But Ruo, after I get my 7th spirit ring, I'll basically be free, and I'll have plenty of time to spend with you." Relief washed over Hanruo and Wu Ming. They had placed a lot of trust in him. The thought of him leaving for only a short time softened their worries. Hanruo added, "By the way, Yan, will you send immortal herbs to my parents?" Shu Yan pinched her cheek and smiled. "Don't worry. I'll pass through Lingdo City on the way to the sea. I'll take care of my parents and grandpa. I also have many natural treasures here that benefit qi and cultivation and strengthen the origin. Senior, have someone take them to your parents. I'll visit with you when I have time." Wu Ming's calm nod hid a bright surprise. For her, even a casual son-in-law would have been a boon to her family. Shu Yan, now the undisputed top genius on Douluo Continent, was an immeasurable prize. The thought that he would help her family warmed her heart. Watching them, the Snow Empress felt increasingly out of place. She pouted, withdrew from Shu Yan's body, and left without a word. They were flirting. Her presence felt unnecessary. She was the spirit of ice and snow, not a bystander to endure such scenes. With the Snow Empress gone, Hanruo and Wu Ming exchanged relieved glances. The three of them chatting had filled the room with easy laughter. But then concern returned when the topic of the deep-sea demon whale king came up. Shu Yan explained. "Shiji once encountered a deep-sea demon whale king with over 600,000 years in the sea. It's very suitable to be my 7th spirit ring." 600,000 years, Wu Ming sputtered, nearly choking. Shu Yan handed her a tissue. She wiped her mouth and, bewildered, said, "Are my ears broken? When did humans get so powerful they can casually hunt peerless, vicious beasts for spirit rings? Shu Yan, are you really confident you can defeat a 600,000-year-old deep-sea demon whale king?" "That species is one of the most powerful in the sea," Hanruo said, frowning. "Even a 100,000-year-old deep-sea demon whale king isn't something an ordinary human super Douluo can provoke." A record in the Academy Library once told of 2 titled Douluo who fought an 80,000-year-old deep-sea magic whale in the Star Luo South Sea. One died and the other fled. The one who survived said unless your cultivation exceeds 95, you're no match. Shu Yan lifted his teacup and sipped before replying calmly, "Don't worry, I defeated the Snow Empress. Isn't that proof enough of my strength? No matter how strong the deep-sea demon whale king is, it won't exceed my endurance. And I have my own way to handle the rest." Hanruo and Wu Ming still didn't fully grasp the depth of his strength or what foundation he truly had. Shu Yan planned to explain more later. For now, he needed them to accept what they could. The three moved on to other topics, and laughter filled the room. Nearby, Ling Luochen, sleeping at home, frowned briefly in her sleep, then relaxed into a faint smile. Outside, ancient trees reached for the sky by the sea god pavilion, the place peaceful as ever. Shu Yan walked along the bluestone path, enjoying the life energy, his body relaxed. From a distance he saw 2 figures approaching, Bei Bei and Tangya. Bei Bei still wore a lazy smile. Tanya, ponytail bouncing, was pouting as usual but lively and radiant, clearly still a famous beauty of the outer courtyard. "Senior, are you done training? We haven't seen you in the inner courtyard in half a year," Tanya called out cheerfully. Bei smiled and showed curiosity, but Shu Yan waved him off. "Not finished, just had some temporary matters and came back to the academy first. I'll be leaving again in a few days." Tanya stuck out her tongue playfully. "You've been so busy this year. I even saw Senior Han sitting by Sea God Lake daydreaming. She was probably thinking about you." "Xiaoya, don't talk to Senior like that," Bei said helplessly. "Who told you to call me Xiaoya?" "Bei, don't forget the deal. During the day I'm your teacher. At that time you have to call me Teacher Xiaoya," Tanya teased. Bei nearly choked on his reply. Tanya blushed at the unintended implication and hid behind him. Bei, unruffled, turned to Shu Yan and said, "Senior, if I said what Xiaoya meant wasn't what you think, would you believe me?" Shu Yan rubbed his chin and replied bluntly, "No." Bei fell silent, then steered the conversation back on track. "Senior, are you heading to Sea God Pavilion?" Shu Yan nodded. "I have some matters to discuss with Elder Mu. I noticed your cultivation seems to have improved. Have you been cultivating here?" Bei nodded. "The golden tree here is very beneficial. With the enhanced light and life energy, my cultivation speed is nearly 3 times faster. I spoke to the Grand Ancestor about Xiaoya. He personally suppressed the devouring trait hidden in her spirit, then invited Zhuang Lao to refine a myriad spirit pill for her. After Xiaoya took it, her spirit showed signs of evolution. Recently, her spirit officially evolved into the Blue Silver King." "The myriad spirit pill, that's a big deal," Shu Yan said, surprised. The myriad spirit pill was the top life attribute medicinal pill, originally formulated by the Ye family of Lingdo, though its formula had been made public for some reason. Refining it was costly. It required at least 7 rare 10,000-year-old plant-type spirit beast origin essences, dozens of rare spiritual materials, and 4 of those plant-type beasts were known extinct. Only the continent's top powers might have preserved their essences. The success rate was under 50%. That Elder Mu would spend so much to help Tanya evolve meant he must hold her in very high regard, almost as if he recognized her as family. It was a kind of compensation by Shrek Academy to Tang Sect. Bei chuckled, but didn't go into it. "Xiaoya and I are heading to Shrek City to look around. You go on ahead. When we have time, let's meet up again. Sanchi's been mentioning you a lot lately." Shu Yan smiled. Just as they were about to part, he asked, "How's Huo Yuhao doing?" Bei paused, a little surprised. Shu Yan asked but answered earnestly, "Yuhao's doing very well. He's been studying in the soul guiding device department lately, showing extraordinary potential in making soul guiding devices. As you said before, his original spirit is top tier among mental force types. The Academy is planning how to cultivate him, and the soul guiding device department will give him strong support. I haven't followed the specifics recently, though." "Good," Shu Yan said, waving them off. "You two go on. I'm heading to Sea God Pavilion." Bei and Tanya nodded and watched Shu Yan's figure disappear down the bluestone path. Chapter 139, Shu Yan versus Xuanzi. After parting with Bei and Tanya, Shu Yan continued along the bluestone path toward the Sea God Pavilion. He hadn't gone far when a whooshing sound cut through the air ahead of him. Something indistinct streaked toward him at incredible speed, the sonic boom ringing in his ears. Shu Yan raised an eyebrow. With a flash of silver light, the space within several dozen meters around him stiffened, and the object hung eerily motionless in midair, held by spatial force. He focused, and with some exasperation realized it was a chicken bone. "I say, Elder Xuan, you really have a taste for chicken. All year round it's roasted chicken or chicken legs," he said with a light chuckle. "At this rate you shouldn't be called the gluttonous Douluo anymore. Call yourself Chicken Leg Douluo." "If this keeps up, you better watch your tongue, kid," a gruff voice replied. A disheveled figure materialized on the path ahead of Shu Yan. Xuanzi looked exactly the same as the last time he'd seen him, only his chin whiskers seemed longer and smeared with food residue. In his hand was another braised chicken leg, one from the inner courtyard cafeteria, split in the middle. "Humph, kid, your cultivation and spirit have really grown in the past half year," Xuanzi snorted. to block this old man's attack so easily, and to mock me at the same time. Elder Xuan, I was only joking, Shu Yan protested innocently. Xuanzi finished the chicken leg in one bite, then clapped his greasy hands. His crimson eyes flickered with a faint red light, and an overwhelming pressure rolled over Shu Yan. Xuanzi's voice echoed through the ancient trees around them. I've been wondering how much you've truly advanced. Let this old man test whether your time was well spent. As his words fell, a giant hand condensed entirely from earth elements slammed down from above. Shu Yan's eyebrows arched. He used teleportation and slipped out of the attack's range. Compared with Xuanzi's previous probing moves, this was a clear use of part of his true strength, an oppressive force that even subtly affected the celestial signs over Sea God Island. This isn't necessary, is it, Elder Xuan? Shu Yan said, half exasperated, as he dodged a flurry of earth spikes condensed from elemental force. Kid, let this old man see your real strength. What's the point of always being mysterious? If you don't make a move today, I'll have to keep you in bed for months. Xuanzi's voice came from all directions, startlingly clear and penetrating. Shu Yan's mouth twitched. He felt it was impossible to keep hiding his full strength any longer. But the Sea God Pavilion was less than 100 meters away. A true full-power fight here would reduce everything on Sea God Island, except the pavilion, to ruins. He thought for a moment, then teleported away. When he reappeared, he was already 2,000 meters up in the sky. Xuanzi, who had been lurking in the shadows, frowned. His vast spiritual power swept out like a tide and instantly located Shu Yan's position. He was surprised Shu Yan could ascend 2,000 meters in a blink, but then he understood. Shu Yan wasn't fleeing. He was choosing a better battlefield. The sky was the best possible choice. A faint smile creased Xuanzi's mouth. He had long wanted an opportunity to probe Shu Yan, but had never managed to catch him alone. Shu Yan was always away or surrounded by Han Ruoro and others. Now Shu Yan had offered himself. Xuanzi planned to satisfy the challenge. 9 spirit rings rose from beneath Xuanzi's feet, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, and 1 red. Spiral horns sprouted from his forehead, their tips shimmering with prismatic light. His body swelled, mysterious, wild patterns engraved across bronze muscles, and his messy hair turned brownish yellow, shining with an earthy glow. Xuanzi slammed his right foot down. A tremor rippled for 1,000 meters, as if a small quake had erupted. Then he shot toward Shu Yan in the sky like a cannonball. Sensing Xuanzi's extreme speed, Shu Yan's exposed skin was rapidly covered in overlapping dragon scales. A vast dragon's might rose, and a majestic roar broke outward from him. The gaze of the entire academy turned skyward. 2 black and 4 red spirit rings on Shu Yan radiated an indescribably powerful aura under the sunlight. Xuanzi's pupils narrowed. He could hardly believe what he saw. Before he could react, the space within several hundred meters around him ruptured. A moment later, a giant silver-white blade of light sliced toward him. Danger, Xuanzi's first thought. He ignited his 5th spirit ring beneath his feet, condensing a colossal phantom of the gluttonous divine ox behind him. Its terrifying aura seemed to suppress heaven and earth, but when the phantom struck the silver blade, every defense the ox possessed dissolved like mist. The dimension blade loomed close, and Xuanzi's pupils constricted. Too late. A tremendous explosion followed as the dimension blade struck Xuanzi. The spatial fission amplified the blade's power. The blast's aftershocks scattered clouds for thousands of meters. In the high sky, Shu Yan squinted at the explosion's core. He never imagined he could fell a level 98 Super Douluo with just his 5th spirit ability. If Xuanzi had truly been defeated by that strike, Shu Yan would have pushed himself to undreamt of extremes. His prediction proved correct. When the fractured space returned to normal, Xuanzi stood with his arms crossed, fresh blood streaking down his bronze skin. The earthy yellow spirit power surged, suppressing the wounds. His eyes no longer wore a smug smile. His crimson gaze was sharp, and as his aura solidified, the sky itself seemed on the verge of collapse. Shu Yan knew the attack had ignited Xuanzi's battle lust. The old man would now display the actual combat power of a level 98 Super Douluo. The wind howled, and the air thickened. In the next instant, everything changed. Xuanzi's speed was beyond imagination. He threw a single punch. Despite fighting to resist, Shu Yan was ripped backward hundreds of meters before he stabilized. One had to remember, Xuanzi could suppress a 91st rank strength-type Ant-Emperor titled Douluo with raw strength alone. Very few people on the continent could stand against him. Damn, he's serious now. A Yan, he's a 98th rank Super Douluo. Even at 50% of his peak physical strength, he's beyond what an ordinary 95th rank Super Douluo can handle. Be careful and don't underestimate him, Tianmeng's anxious voice echoed in the Sea of Spirit, sending ripples through Shu Yan's consciousness. Shu Yan didn't reply. From the exchange, he'd felt Xuanzi's terrifying might, but his body, tempered by the fusion with the spirit of life's gold and many top-grade spirit bones, had not been forged in vain. The power Xuanzi used was strong, but not insurmountable. Another tier of air sounded. The gluttonous divine ox's roar, full of fighting intent, echoed, and Shu Yan unleashed the purest true dragon bloodline within him. In an instant, he became a silver-black dragon over 100 meters long. The clear sky was split between earthy yellow and silver-black by their opposing spirit powers. An oppressive feeling swept everyone, an end-of-world terror that made some stagger. Even watching only from afar, people felt their knees grow weak. The gluttonous divine ox and the Yazi clashed continuously. Cold light flashed from the ox's horns and the dragon's claws, tearing space with every strike. Spiderweb-like cracks spread across the sky. The weather turned dark and violent, howling winds, lightning, thunder. Each lightning flash revealed the grotesque forms of the two titanic beasts amid the clouds. Elder Mu, is this really the power a quasi-spirit saint can unleash? Elder Song's silver hair trembled as she looked on, her hands shaking. She could not imagine how a spirit emperor could hold Xuanzi so tightly. Less than half a meter in front of Elder Song, Muen sat in his wheelchair, silently watching the battle. Nearly all the Sea God Pavilion elders and Shrek Academy's titled Douluo had gathered. Their expressions varied, but united in stunned disbelief. Yes, he is still only a quasi-spirit saint, Muen murmured, his cloudy eyes bright. Even with over 200 years' experience traveling the continent, he could not hide his astonishment. Xuanzi's probing revealed a monster beyond words. Zhuanglao sighed softly. From this day forward, Shu Yan's position as the era's #1 genius could not be shaken. A 13-year-old boy, fighting an elder who had cultivated for 2 centuries to a standstill, had once seemed like a joke. Now it was reality. The future belonged to Shu Yan. All other geniuses of his generation would be suffocated by that future, left only with regret. Muen closed his eyes and in a soft voice said, "What a pity. This young man has such lofty ambitions and doesn't want my position as Sea God Pavilion Master. Otherwise, who in this vast Shrek Academy could be more suitable to succeed me?" A heavy silence followed. Any previous doubts about Shu Yan vanished. His potential was now undeniable. If he continued to grow, even the Sun-Moon Empire would think twice before waging all-out war. The hope of resisting a nation with the power of a single person, once thought possible only by a heavenly god, now seemed faintly within reach through Shu Yan. Countless eyes stayed fixed on the battle in the sky. The two fought mainly above Sea God Island, and most of the destructive aftermath was contained to the island itself, thanks largely to Muen's interventions. The inner courtyard, safe under the protection of many powerful teachers, had a clear view of the entire duel. The outer courtyard, with weaker faculty and students, sheltered most lower-grade students. Only a few remained who could see the distant, world-shaking struggle. Even from afar, the scene would be engraved in their memories for life, inspiring them ever after. A silver light streaked across the sky as a figure descended, transforming into Zhang Lexuan's graceful form as she landed. Le Xuan. Han Ruoruo saw Zhang Lexuan approaching from the other side of Sea God Island and called out. Wu Ming and Ling Luochen, standing behind Han Ruoruo, were so intent on the sky battle that they hadn't noticed Zhang Lexuan arrive. Ruo, what happened between Shu Yan and Elder Xuan? Why are they fighting so fiercely? Zhang Lexuan asked, prioritizing the immediate question, why the sudden escalation, so they could evaluate the situation. Han Ruoruo shook her head. I don't know. A Yan said he needed to go to the Sea God Pavilion for something, but with everything happening now, I can't explain it either. Zhang Lexuan considered for a moment, then said, I need to go to the Sea God Pavilion. Ruo, do you want to come? Han Ruo hesitated, then nodded. Wu Ming and Ling Luochen overheard and exchanged looks, but said nothing. They watched as the two strongest inner courtyard students left together, heading for the pavilion beneath the storm-darkened sky. Chapter 140, A Brilliant Genius, a Pure Dragon Crystal, and Shrek's Treasure Vault. After another fierce collision that could have rearranged mountains, Shu Yan and Xuanzi were flung back hundreds of meters. Shu Yan's heart thudded. He wiped blood from the corner of his mouth as spirit power roiled through him. In this fight, he had thrown nearly everything at Xuanzi, short of his true trump cards, and yet defeating him had been no easy feat. At best, Shu Yan could only be called a spirit emperor in form. If he already had his 7th spirit ring, no offense, Xuanzi would have been utterly humiliated today. The spirit incarnation that a 7th ring grants multiplies a spirit master's power enormously, 2 to 3 times, easily. Facing Xuanzi while he was only half exerting himself would have been a different matter entirely. His physical base, fused with the spirit of life's gold and many top-grade spirit bones, had been enough to sustain this high-intensity clash. His formless mental force had also been crucial, not only allowing him to read Xuanzi's movements, but nearly forcing Xuanzi into catastrophe with strange and varied mental spirit attacks. Still, after a moment of thought, Shu Yan deliberately withdrew his spirit. He hovered above the void realm, letting the wind sweep past, then looked toward the distant Taoti Douluo. Xuanzi said, "Elder Xuan, you've gotten everything you needed. Let's stop for today, shall we?" Xuanzi hesitated, then fell silent, evidently embarrassed. For a 98th Super Douluo to be trading blows with a spirit emperor and feeling pressed by him, that was a humbling realization. He'd been so immersed in battle he'd forgotten the implications. Seeing Shu Yan's stamina and recovery, he knew if the fight dragged on, he might be at a disadvantage unless he used more power. His pride was dented, but he had gathered the information he wanted. Realizing there was no benefit in continuing, Xuanzi withdrew his spirit and rings. Without the constant suppression of spirit power, the cuts from the dimensional blade bled freely. Shu Yan waved his hand, and countless silvery white light motes flew out of Xuanzi's wounds. When they dissipated, the injuries began to knit visibly. "Kid, you really are a monster," Xuanzi said, moving his blood-spattered arm and staring at Shu Yan in a daze. Shu Yan smiled faintly, shook his head, and led the way down toward the Sea God Pavilion. They were not mortal enemies. Despite Xuanzi's lacking reputation, he had still given Shu Yan guidance. Rationally and emotionally, Shu Yan didn't want to make the old man more uncomfortable. Besides, the duel had served its purposes. Xuanzi's strength was increasing. If they kept fighting, Shu Yan would have to summon Snow Empress and the others to stand a chance. Even as the weakest 98th Super Douluo of this age, Xuanzi was the most powerful fighter beneath the Limit Douluo. That Shu Yan had reached an effective standstill against him, while Xuanzi used only about half his strength, was shocking enough. Watching Shu Yan withdraw, Xuanzi breathed deeply, feeling a complex tangle of emotions. Then relief came. Shu Yan's background was clean and upright. He would stand with the original Douluo Continent. The stronger he grew, the more confident the original continent and Shrek Academy could be against the Sun Moon Empire. If someone like Shu Yan had been born in the Sun Moon Empire, resistance would be futile. The Sun Moon Empire would win hands down. Xuanzi did not dare to imagine such a future. Back at the Sea God Pavilion, the elders and the titled Douluo, who had not shown themselves until now, stared at Shu Yan with the same mixture of shock, disbelief, and awe. "All of you, disperse," Muen finally ordered, and the elders came back to their senses, bowed in turn to him, and left. Xuanzi landed behind Muen and exchanged a few soft words before going to find Zhuang Lao, who waited nearby. A Super Douluo's body heals quickly, but a Super Douluo-level healer like Zhuang Lao was faster still. With him tending to those wounds, Xuanzi would recover within minutes. When the crowd thinned, Muen smiled and spoke to Shu Yan, breaking through to Spirit Saint at 13, with a foundation unusually deep. "Did you encounter some great opportunity on your travels?" Shu Yan nodded. "I had some fortuitous encounters in the extreme north, and then I found a treasure land inside the Tianhun Empire. That's why my cultivation rose twice in succession." Muen murmured. Those who gather luck rarely lack opportunity. At the level of a limit Douluo, one approaches the divine. Every limit Douluo's birth seems accompanied by fortune. Shu Yan made no protest. Geniuses are often those favored by chance. The prosperity of an era often hinges on such people. Muen's expression turned more serious. You came to me this time for that dragon crystal, then. Shu Yan took Muen's wheelchair out to a balcony. Muen asked if Shu Yan had already refined the dragon crystal. Shu Yan did not deny it. The dragon crystal was one of his top treasures, its value rivaling a high-grade immortal herb, yet its effect on him was likely greater. It was a remnant of a giant dragon that may once have touched divinity. Most of its divinity had long since faded, but the residual energy was immense. Muen's own dragon core, a light element white dragon remnant, had once created a limit Douluo who dominated for centuries until the malevolent chi within it eventually caused backlash. Muen was far-sighted and rational compared to many Shrek elders. He explained, that dragon crystal resembles my dragon core. There's a great deal of malevolent chi in its origin. But your situation differs. You have a very high-tiered spirit, and your bloodline suppresses the dark elemental giant dragon that spawned the crystal. The malevolent chi in the crystal is suppressed by your bloodline and won't easily manifest. These past days I used my origin spirit power and the golden tree to purify most of it. A small portion that's buried too deep will take some more time. I have mostly refined the external seal. As he spoke, Muen raised a withered hand. A translucent, diamond-shaped crystal, clear as glass, floated up. A dragon's roar sounded, and the dragon crystal emitted a deep black glow. When that light touched Shu Yan, the Yazi spirit inside him likewise gave a low roar. The two roars echoed, shaking the light elements in the surrounding space. Shu Yan accepted the magnificent dragon crystal. As it entered his hand, unexpected warmth spread through him, like body heat. The crystal felt alive. A gentle energy flowed into him and began to circulate through his meridians. Wherever it passed, his flesh and bone and cells rejoiced. The sensation was more intoxicating than the comfort after fusing with Snow Empress. Dragon cores and dragon crystals are similar. Both condense a giant dragon's original bloodline and origin essence after death. Because Muen had nurtured this crystal, its power had been purified further. For Shu Yan, its power suited him even better than Snow Empress's origin. Thank you, Elder Mu. I have a way to handle the remaining malevolent chi. I won't trouble you further, Shu Yan said quietly, planning to fully integrate the dragon crystal once he returned. Muen nodded and didn't press further. After a short silence, he continued, You've reached the Spirit Saint realm. By my original plan, once you broke through to Spirit Saint, you would be allowed into the Shrek treasury beneath the Sea God Pavilion to choose any treasure you desire. I will give you two choices now. Choose a treasure today, or save the opportunity for later. Shu Yan thought briefly. Then do it now, he said. Muen led him to the interior of the pavilion. At the deepest point, a gilded wooden wall stood, and Muen held up a golden light. The light resonated with the wall, and it vanished, revealing a spiral staircase descending downward. The staircase and surrounding walls were golden, faintly glowing. No lamps were needed. The golden light sufficed. Muen rose slowly with Shu Yan's help. His waist was nearly bent at a right angle, but with his cane he managed. They went down step by step. The Sea God Pavilion wasn't just a few buildings. It held 108 cultivation rooms below ground and numerous secret treasures. Deepest of all was the Shrek Treasury, the most heavily guarded spot in the pavilion. Even a limit Douluo would find breaking in nearly impossible. They walked until Muen stopped before a layer of golden light. Proceed. This is the Shrek Treasury. It holds rare treasures collected by Shrek Academy over 10,000 years. Any single item taken here could spark a bloody storm, he said softly. Shu Yan nodded and stepped forward. The golden film repelled him with an almost unbearable force, but as a burst of golden light flowed from Muen, the resistance dulled. Shu Yan plunged in. The golden light swallowed him. Inside, a blinding golden radiance filled the space, carrying an unimaginably powerful force, so potent that even Snow Empress felt a pressure. The glow was clearly linked to the golden tree's main body. As the light faded a bit, Shu Yan saw a space suffused with golden energy. Various rare treasures floated in midair as if waiting for their destined claimants. Tian Meng, in the Sea of Consciousness, stared and rattled off identifications with wide eyes. Look, about 30 meters to your front right, that's a right arm bone from an Ice Jade Luan, at least 80,000 years old. The Ice Jade Luan holds the purest Ice Phoenix bloodline. If it reaches 100,000 years, it can awaken entirely and incarnate into an Ice Phoenix, becoming a Beast King-level existence. Snow Empress and the Ice Empress looked astonished, but Shiji's expression darkened upon entering the treasury. A moment later, she said quietly, "If I'm not mistaken, that 100,000-year soul-eating spider emperor torso bone should be left by my sister." At those words, everyone, Shu Yan included, fell silent. They froze in place, the air thick with tension.